Chapter 1161. Read 336. On the other side of the cave, Inzun was interrupted by Sima Yue. He was full of anger. When he returned to the cave, he saw the women crying together. He was annoyed and shouted, "Don't cry!" The dozen or so women became even more afraid after being yelled at by him. Some of them shut their mouths, but some of them cried even harder because of fear. Among them, the one who cried the loudest was the woman who had just been defiled. "I said don't cry." Inzun yelled at the woman with his own power. Pff. The woman spat out a mouthful of blood, and blood began to flow out of her orifices. Her eyes widened, and she fell to the side in disbelief, losing her life. "Whoever cries again will end up like her," Inzun threatened. The few women who had been crying were scared silly. They forgot to cry, or didn't dare to cry anymore. That's more like it. Inzun touched the face of the nearest woman, then came to the innermost part of the cave, and sat down to meditate. Although he was interrupted just now, he still obtained some power. He had to digest it. Sima Yiyun and Sima Qiqi huddled together, both of their faces full of tears. "Yiyun, what should we do?" Sima Qiqi glanced at the woman's corpse and leaned against Sima Yiyun in fright. "Don't be afraid. We'll be fine." Sima Yiyun patted her hand and said something that even she didn't believe. Being caught by such a person, even if they contacted Uncle Lu Feng and the others, they might not be rescued. His strength was too strong, and the Sima family did not send any Paragon-level experts. Why would such an expert come here? If he wanted to find a woman, he should do it outside. After all, there were more women outside. "Hey Yiyun, what do you think happened just now? Could it be that someone came to save us?" Sima Qiqi asked. "It shouldn't be, right?" Sima Yiyun glanced outside. "I think the possibility is very high. Otherwise, who would provoke such a person?" Sima Qiqi said. "Even if they're not here to save us, they're here to save one of the people. It'll be good to save us while they're at it. When I think of what happened to those people, I feel a little." Sima Yiyun felt her body trembling and reached out to hug her, saying, "Don't be afraid, we'll face it together." Being controlled by him, I can't even commit suicide. This is the difference in strength. Sima Qiqi said. If they could, they would rather commit suicide before they were defiled than end up like that. Sima Yiyun really wanted to comfort her and say that there would be hope, but even her heart was filled with despair. After a day, Inzun woke up. The women in the cave were so scared that they began to tremble. Every time he woke up after absorbing a woman's essence, he would repeat the same thing. Everyone shrank back, afraid that they would be the ones in danger today. Inzun looked around and finally set his eyes on Sima Yiyun. Sima Yiyun's body stiffened when she felt his gaze. Was it his turn? Was there still no one to save them? "You come here." Inzun beckoned to Sima Yiyun. Sima Yiyun closed her eyes and took a deep breath. It was indeed her. Let her pass? Was that even possible? She slowly stood up, and Sima Qiqi pulled her back. "Yiyun, don't." Sima Qiqi shouted. Inzun's gaze swept over Sima Qiqi and said, "I haven't tried being with two women yet. Since your relationship is so good, then let's be together." Sima Qiqi's body stiffened. Together? She wanted to say no, but Inzun thought they were too troublesome. With a wave of his hand, the two of them were brought over by a gust of wind. The moment Sima Yiyun approached, she suddenly released a burst of spirit power and hit Inzun's chest. Even if she couldn't hurt him, if she angered him and let him kill her, it was better than being defiled. Unfortunately, her power was too weak in front of him. That attack dissipated before it got close to him. Ugh! Her neck was grabbed by Inzun and she gradually couldn't breathe. "Ha ha ha, I like strong women like you. You taste good." Inzun said. "If you have the ability, then kill me." Sima Yiyun said with difficulty. "You want to provoke me and let me kill you?" Inzun laughed. "Little girl, your play is still too tender. Don't worry, I will let you die happily in a while." He threw Sima Qiqi aside and freed his hand to tear Sima Yiyun's clothes. Hiss! The sound of clothes tearing completely destroyed the last hope in Sima Yiyun's eyes. If there was an afterlife, she must become stronger and not let anyone bully her. "Don't!" Sima Qiqi screamed and wanted to rush over, but she was thrown to the stone wall by Inzun. She spat out a mouthful of blood and her back was burning with pain. Don't. She watched as Sima Yun's clothes were torn, revealing her jade-like skin, but she couldn't do anything. Tears kept flowing down as she lay on the ground and cried. Little beauty, don't worry. This lord will make you happy in a while. Inzun smiled. To be honest, I'm a little reluctant to kill a beauty like you. If you are obedient, this lord will make an exception and spare your life and let you follow me. Sima Yun looked at him with a deathly stillness in her eyes. She slowly said, You better kill me, otherwise I will definitely kill you. Ha ha ha. Inzun laughed. The more you say this, the more reluctant this lord is to kill you. This exalted has decided to keep you alive. This exalted wants to see how you're going to kill me. I definitely will. Sima Yun said word by word. This lord will wait. Now little beauty, let me have a good time first. Perhaps he was attracted by her. He took out a bed for the first time, instead of doing it on the spot like before. He put Sima Yun on the bed. When he was about to take out his spear, the explosion sounded at the entrance of the cave again. He was so scared that his lower body tightened, and all his interest was withdrawn. If it happened a few more times, he didn't know if he would be scared to impotence. You are here again. This time I must catch you. Little beauty, you wait, I will make you comfortable in a while. Inzun got up, put on his pants and went out. Yun. Sima Chi got up from the ground and took out clothes to wrap Sima Yun. Don't be afraid. Someone is here to save us. Listen, there are sounds of fighting outside. Sima Yun's eyes turned and finally there was a little light in her pupils. Will someone come to save us? Yes, they must be here to save us. Sima Chi hugged her and said, Haha, there really is a spirit barrier. It's time for this baby to show its power. Little Roar's voice suddenly came from the entrance of the cave, making everyone in the cave happy. Chapter 1162. Read 336. Sima Chi looked out of the cave. Did someone really come to save them? Things happened so suddenly that they even suspected that they were hallucinating. Little Roar, stop messing around. Quickly bring me in. Inzun will be back in a while. Outside the cave, Sima Yifei said anxiously. Look at how anxious you are. Isn't this Bao Bao opening a barrier? This is a barrier set up by a Paragon rank expert. Even if it's me, this baby, I would still need some time. Little Roar said. It placed its claws on the spirit barrier, and a faint blue halo slowly spread out. When it was able to pass through people, Sima Yifei couldn't wait to drill in. The moment he entered, he saw Sima Yun, who was lying on the bed with a dress wrapped around her, and Sima Chi, who was kneeling at the side with tears all over her face. Yun Chi, are you alright? Yifei. Sima Chi cried even more when she saw her brother, but this time, she was crying tears of joy. Sima Yifei saw the tattered clothes on the floor and Sima Yun's coat and said with heartache, Yun, you've already been. No, Inzun went out before he started, but it tore Yun's dress. Sima Chi said. I say, the guy inside, hurry up and come out. What are you dawdling in there for? Are you waiting for that big bad guy to come back? Little Roar shouted from outside. That's right, we'll talk about it later. Quickly follow me. Sima Yifei continued. You guys follow me too. When he saw that Sima Yun didn't move, he took 2 steps forward and carried her in a princess carry and said to Sima Chi, Let's go. The girls had already left. Only after the 3 of them had left did Little Roar release his claws. Come with me. Sima Yifei gave a thought and a temporary teleportation array appeared in his hands. He injected his spirit power and brought everyone in, leaving this place. In a valley far away from Sima Yue, Sima Yifei let everyone out of the array. Haha, we're saved. Are we really out? I thought we. Those women were crying and rejoicing that they had been saved. Many thanks to young master for saving us. The girls said gratefully. Little Roar flew into the air and waved his little paws saying, It's me. It's me who saved you. Those women knew that if it hadn't opened the barrier, they wouldn't have been able to escape. Seeing how cute it was, they were all attracted to it. Thank you for your help, Divine Beast. Yes, we want to thank you. Thank you, Divine Beast. Little Roar felt as if he was floating. Seeing so many beauties, he rubbed himself against their arms and touched their chests. Sima Yifei saw that Sima Yiyun didn't have the joy of being rescued, so he lowered his head and reproached himself. Sorry, big brother came late. He rarely called himself big brother, but this time this big brother finally made Sima Yiyun regain her senses and tears fell. Big brother. That big brother contained rebirth after a calamity, sadness, rejoicing, grievance and heartache. It contained too many emotions, making Sima Yifei, this kind of careless person, red-eyed. Sorry I'm late. Sima Yiyun leaned on Sima Yifei and shook her head. She cried for a while before she stopped. By this time, her panic and fear had dissipated by more than half. Sima Yifei saw that her emotions had stabilized and said to Sima Chi-Chi, "Bring her to change her clothes." Sima Chi-Chi supported Sima Yiyun and said, "Let's go." Sima Yiyun came down and pulled her outer clothes tightly to prevent herself from being exposed. "Chi-Chi, you were injured just now. Take the pill first." "I'm fine. Let's go and change our clothes first." Sima Chi-Chi supported her behind a big rock at the side. When they came out again, Sima Yiyun had already changed her clothes and Sima Chi-Chi had also taken the pill. "Big brother, why did you come to save us? That divine beast is?" Sima Yiyun walked over and asked when she saw Little Roar mingling with the other beauties. "That's Yu's spirit beast. Actually, she should be the one who saved you," Sima Yifei said. "Yu? You saw her?" Sima Yiyun and Sima Chi-Chi were surprised when they heard Sima Yu's name. "That asterisk is so strong. Who can lure him away? It's Yu's foster father, the Dragon King of the Violet Water Dragon clan," Sima Yifei said. He then told them about how they left using the teleportation array, and how they met Sima Yu on the other side of the teleportation array. But because of the oath he left out the little realm and the spirit pagoda. "I didn't expect that we would owe her such a big favor," Sima Yiyun said. "If it wasn't for her, I'm afraid I would have." She couldn't help but tremble when she thought of that scene. Sima Yifei went forward and hugged her, saying, "When you see her, don't be too surprised." "What's wrong?" "You'll know when the time comes." Sima Yifei kept them in suspense. They were far away from Sima Yu when they came in and didn't hear much about her, so they didn't know she was a girl. When they met before, if she didn't take the initiative to acknowledge them, they wouldn't have recognized her. Then where are they now? Let's go over and take a look. If anything happens to her, I'm afraid we won't be at ease for the rest of our lives, Sima Yiyun said. To be honest, I'm worried about them too. But if we go, I'm afraid we'll drag them down, Sima Yifei said. How could they participate in a battle between Paragon-ranked experts? Not to mention losing their lives, they would also drag Yu and the others down. We won't participate, we'll just watch from afar, Sima Yiyun said. I want to see how this person dies. Sima Yifei felt her deep hatred. If he didn't let her see him die, he was afraid she wouldn't be able to let it go in this lifetime. All right then. Let's go, Sima Yifei said. They went to look for Little Roar. That guy was still taking advantage of those beauties. When they heard that they were going to look for asterisk, those girls were so scared that their faces turned pale. They were determined not to go. Sima Yifei didn't force them and said, since that's the case, let's part ways here. You guys go look for your sects and clans, we'll go look for our friends. Those girls hesitated again. With the previous experience, they didn't dare to act alone. Sima Yifei, who saved them, was now their guardian god in their hearts. Why don't we go with you? A girl said. Don't you want to see that bad guy get killed? When that girl said that, those girls' hearts began to waver. Finally, they decided to go together. But they had to stay far away and resolutely not get close to that big Inzun. Chapter 1163. Wyanner arrived at Gate D and saw Wu Lamai and the others in the distance. It was you guys yesterday too. Yes, Wu Lamai said. Hand over those girls. You're just a spirit beast with the strength of a supremacy. How dare you challenge me? Wyanner looked at Wu Lamai with disdain, not taking him seriously. He had cultivated a divine skill, so his strength was much higher than people of the same level, not to mention people who were one level lower than him. It's enough to kill you, Wu Lamai said. Let's give it a try. White Supremacy attacked Wu Lamai, but Wu Lamai stood in place without any intention of counterattacking. He only threw a small ball over. How could a small ball withstand his attack? That was underestimating him too much. However, when the small ball collided with his attack, it exploded. It was clearly only the size of a fist, but it dissolved his attack. After waiting for the shockwaves to pass, the elder beside Wu Lamai said, "His strength is much higher than ours. We should go back and think of a countermeasure before we come again." That's right. Let's go back first. Wu Lamai had a very unwilling look on his face as he gritted his teeth and said, "Let's go." With that, they turned around and flew away. "Don't you dare run." Wei Clan roared at them and chased after them. Needless to say, Wei Supremacy's brain was not very good. He chased after Yi Lingchen without considering if there was a trap. However, it was also because he was confident in his own strength. He felt that in Immortal Land, no one could do anything to him. He didn't care about those things at all. Sima Yue and Sima Xian Shu waited anxiously. As long as Wei Zun was lured out, Sima Yun and the others would be fine. But this also meant that danger was coming for them. Coming. Xinshu, get ready. Their silhouettes were gradually approaching. Sima Xian Shu's palms were sweating nervously as he waited for Wei Honor to arrive at the top of the array. However, just as he was about to enter the area, he stopped in midair. That was because he saw Sima Yue. Sima Yue transformed into someone who looked very similar to her. When Wei Supremacy saw her, he was stunned. How could there be such a beautiful woman in the world? Although his strength was a little low, he was still very young. He could still improve in the future. When Sima Yue saw that Wei Zun had stopped moving, she wondered if he was suspecting them. She shouted at Wu Lamai, "Godfather, you must kill him." Looking at Sima Yue's hateful and fearful expression, Wei Zun seemed to understand Wu Lamai's words. "Ha ha ha. Little girl, don't be afraid. Follow me, and I will guarantee that you will be able to do whatever you want in this world." "Go away, you be *tch," Sima Yue shouted. "You're so bad. You won't have a good ending." "Really? Ha ha ha. Then follow me and see how I'm going to live a carefree life in this world." Wei Supremacy laughed. Sima Yue was trembling in fear. She turned around and ran. When Wei Zun saw her, he put Wu Lamai and the others behind him and chased after her. However, he was trapped after flying a few dozen meters forward. Dragon Trapping Formation. He recognized the formation immediately. He was a little surprised, but he did not panic. He was not in a hurry to get out. He looked at Wu Lamai and the others and said, "I was wondering why a spiritual beast like you dared to challenge me. So you set up a formation in advance." Sima Yue stopped and turned around to look at Wei Supremacy, who was trapped in the dragon trapping formation. She did not know if the poison inside would work or how long he would be trapped. She flew back and said, "It seems that you know about this formation. Then you should know that you won't be able to get out of this formation." "Is that so?" Wei Supremacy was not in a hurry and said, "Did you set up this formation?" "That's right. It's specially set up for people like you," Sima Yue said, "so that you won't be able to go out and harm people in the future. You're very talented to be able to set up such a formation at such a young age," Wei Supremacy said. "However, do you know that your formation won't be able to trap me for the time it takes to brew a cup of tea? As long as I want to get out, your formation will be broken in 2 moves. Then you can try. Let's see if you can get out in the time it takes to brew a cup of tea," Sima Yue said confidently. Wei Supremacy loved Sima Yue's personality. She was so confident that he wanted to destroy her with his own hands. Once he got out and captured her, he would slowly destroy her confidence. "Then you better watch carefully." He attacked the formation. The first time he attacked, the formation was already on the verge of collapse. Sima Yue's expression changed when she saw that. Wei Supremacy saw her expression and laughed, then attacked a second time. After this attack, only a faint ripple was left in the formation. Wei Supremacy casually released a wave of spiritual energy, and broke the formation. Not bad. You can actually withstand 3 of my attacks. White Supremacy said with satisfaction. In the future, your formation should be able to trap me for a longer time. Sima Yoyue's face turned pale and shouted, Godfather. You want to capture my baby? You're courting death. Wu Lamai attacked him. You're overestimating yourself. White Supremacy waved his hand and dissolved Wu Lamai's attack. You think you're worthy of fighting me with that little strength of yours? I'll show you what a true powerhouse is. Wu Lamai did not use his full strength. According to the previous plan, he had to maintain his strength before entering the domain. At the same time, he had to let White Supremacy look down on him so that he could catch him off guard. White Supremacy released a wave of spiritual energy at Wu Lamai. It transformed into a red spiritual beast and attacked him. Wu Lamai also released a water dragon, entangled with White Supremacy's spiritual beast. Will help too. The few elders also released their spiritual energy and transformed into egrets to help Wu Lamai. However, they were not as strong as White Supremacy even if they combined. Not only was the front of the formation scattered, but it was also charging towards them. Space lock. Sima Yue shouted and sealed the transformed beast. White Supremacy did not expect her to know how to use space lock. He was even more curious about her. She was able to set up a formation like the dragon trapping formation at such a young age, and even understood space lock. If he waited for her to grow up, it would be unimaginable. Little girl, you're really making me more and more interested. He licked his lips and looked at Sima Yue as if he was looking at his prey. I'll make sure you'll never be interested. Explode for me. Sima Yu cried out coldly, and that transformed spirit beast exploded into spirit energy, dissipating into the air. Little girl, I'll talk to you slowly after I'm done with your godfather. For now, you should go to the side obediently. White Supremacy released his spiritual energy again, but found that his strength was suppressed. He closed his eyes to feel it and suddenly opened them to look at her. It was the first time he was shocked. Domain. You used domain. How is this possible? Chapter 1164. If he was only interested in Sima Yue before, he was starting to take her seriously now. A domain can only be comprehended by a venerable. You're just a little divine. How could you possibly comprehend it? Sima Yue looked at her and said, You want to know? I'm not telling you. Godfather, let go of me. In other words, he had to make the best use of the time. If she wanted to trap an honorable realm expert in her own domain, she would need to expend even more energy. Therefore, he didn't know how long this domain would last. She had told Wu Lamai about this before, so when he heard her say this, he understood what she meant and attacked together with the elders of the Egret clan. Right now, there was no need for them to bully him with numbers. At this moment, killing him was the right thing to do. Sima Yue did not need to do anything. She only needed to control her domain. However, this was more important than anyone else. She couldn't use her domain in someone else's domain, but if she used her domain, he would definitely discover it. How could she use her domain unknowingly? No. It wasn't that she didn't notice it. Her movements were actually quite big, but they were all concealed by the spatial seal. She didn't use the spatial seal to deal with his attack, but to use it as a cover to display her domain. As for himself, he never thought that she would be able to comprehend a domain at such a young age, so he didn't think about it at all. He assumed that the fluctuation was caused by the spatial seal, because both of them really missed each other. Because of his carelessness, he had fallen into a passive situation. This was something he had never thought of in the beginning. Moreover, Wu Lamai's attacks weren't as weak as they appeared to be before. Each of his attacks was quite powerful. Coupled with the suppression from Sima Yoyue's domain, he was having a hard time dealing with it. When Sima Yifei and the others arrived, they were just in time to see them being contained in the realm. When they heard the conversation between Sima Yue and Spirit Paragon, everyone was stunned. Did I hear wrongly? Sima Yifei cried out. Domain? Sima Yue had actually comprehended a domain. How could this be? It's indeed impossible, but it can only be him. Sima Yun said. The others were all spirit beasts, and spirit beasts were unable to comprehend domains. Only Sima Yue and white supremacy were humans. If it was not white supremacy's territory, it could only be Sima Yue. Yu is mighty, Yu is awesome. Little roar rolled around in Sima Yun's embrace. At this moment, Sima Chi suddenly shouted, "Sima Yue is a girl?" Sima Yun finally reacted and saw that familiar face. It was indeed a woman dressed up. They were so shocked by what happened in Sima Yue's domain that they did not notice this at all. Now that they saw her like this, they were so shocked that they almost dropped Little Roar to the ground. Little Roar regained his balance a few centimeters before landing on the ground. Then he flew up again and returned to Sima Yun's embrace, saying, "What's so strange about my family's Yu being a girl?" Sima Yue? Could it be the Vice Valley Lord of Heartbreak Valley, Sima Yue? That legendary rising star? Someone cried out in surprise. That's right. My family's little Yu is the Vice Valley Lord of Heartbreak Valley. Little Roar said. I didn't expect her to save us. What's even more unexpected is that she's actually a girl. Everyone was silent. A person who was younger than them was actually so powerful and even saved them. This made their hearts fiercely shocked. Indeed, we can't compare ourselves to others. This was everyone's final sigh. Let's retreat a little more. It won't be good if we get involved. Sima Yifei said. Although they were far away now, if they got involved, it would be too late for them to regret it. They retreated for close to a kilometer and stopped at the edge of their field of vision. This way, they could see what was happening over there. If something happened, it would be better for them to escape. The battle here quickly attracted a lot of people who came to watch. They could only watch from afar when they felt the shock of the battle. Isn't that person the Paragon-ranked expert? There's actually someone who can contend with him. So powerful. He can actually fight with a Paragon-ranked expert. No, it's a few people who are fighting with those people. Why is that young lady so close? Isn't she afraid of being involved? That's right. What a willful young lady. What do you know? Look, she definitely has a divine artifact on her. Every time an attack hits her, it disappears. What divine artifact? It can even resist a battle between paragons. No matter what grade the divine artifact is, it's definitely not something that people like you and me can have. That's right. Only those big powers would have such a divine artifact. What a lucky fellow, to have such good resources. Isn't that so? The surrounding people were discussing animatedly. They didn't find anything wrong until Tang Yun brought the people from the Sage Pavilion over. These people are really powerful. The people from the Sage Pavilion side with those people. If only we had such a powerful divine artifact. At that time, we wouldn't have to be afraid of other people's battle affecting us. What do you know? Tang Yun looked at the battle in shock. That woman is the key. Assistant Pavilion Master. Why do you say that? Domain, they're all in that person's domain. Tang Yun said something that even he didn't believe. It can't be Assistant Hall Master. Isn't a domain something that only paragons can comprehend? I used to think so too. Tang Yun said. But it's very obvious that the world has played a huge joke on us. It wasn't that those who were weak couldn't comprehend it, but that their talents were too low, so they couldn't comprehend it. Isn't that Sima Yue? Someone recognized her identity. That seems to be the Dragon King of the Violet Water Dragon clan. When I was outside the Immortal Land, I heard others mention it. Those are all spirit beasts. Then this domain really was comprehended by Sima Yue. This is too unexpected. Powerful. Let's not talk about her background. Just based on her talent, it's something that we can't compare to. Sima Yue also knew that many people had come. She had long guessed that this battle would attract people, so she wasn't surprised. As time passed, she felt more and more tired. Supporting the domain was really a physical task. If she didn't get rid of this guy, she was afraid that she wouldn't be able to hold on. But looking at Wu Lamai, it didn't look like he could get rid of him in 3 to 5 minutes. No way, if this went on, everything she did today would be wasted. If he escaped, the possibility of catching him again would be a joke. Chapter 1165. Boom. Wu Lamai and Zun's palms collided violently. The shockwave from the collision almost flipped the elders over. Sima Yoyue's domain trembled. Ugh. Sima Yoyue was slightly injured and blood flowed out from the corner of her mouth. Tang Yin saw her state and said, "The situation is not good. This venerable one's strength is unexpectedly strong. Their levels aren't much higher, so why are they so powerful?" Someone asked. It should be related to his cultivation method. He used women as cauldrons and absorbed their essence qi, which was originally an evil cultivation technique. And this type of cultivation method is extremely damaging, but it can allow one's battle prowess to surpass ordinary people. Tang Yin explained. It doesn't look too different. Someone didn't understand. You two seem to be evenly matched, but that's in that little girl's domain. On one hand, she was suppressing the venerable's strength. On the other hand, she was providing power to the Violet Water Dragon King. To be unable to take down the opponent in such a situation. If this venerable isn't very strong, then what is? Tang Yin said. Not good. It seems like they're going to lose. Someone exclaimed. Wu Lamai didn't expect his opponent's strength to be so much higher than he had expected. The two of them had fought for so long, but there was still no clear winner. He could already feel that Sima Yoyue could not hold on any longer. Once the territory collapsed, she would definitely escape. Cutting the weeds without removing the roots was definitely looking for trouble in the future. The onlookers in the distance also understood this, but there was nothing they could do. After all, the level of their strength was obvious. Looks like I can't just stand by and watch. Tang Yin sighed. With a leap, he flew over to Sima Yoyue's domain and said, "Little friend, let me in." Because she didn't have a good impression of the people from the Sage Pavilion. When Tang Yin came over, she didn't let him in immediately. If he was here to save the Supreme, then wouldn't he be inviting a wolf into the house? Yu, your senior brother said that we can try to trust this deputy pavilion master. Little Spirit conveyed Wu Lingyu's message. Sima Yoyue did not expect Wu Lingyu to speak. Since he said he believed her, then she would believe him. She expanded her domain a little and enveloped him. Tang Yin didn't say anything else and immediately attacked. He was a man of few words and preferred to act directly. Wu Lamai was already on par with the supremacy, and now there was another supremacy. Although his level was lower than both of them, he had become the point that broke the balance. Once the scales began to tilt, it would be easy to topple them completely. It didn't take long for the two of them to subdue the other party. At the moment when the Paragon lost its fighting strength, Sima Yoyue's spirit realm collapsed completely and she fell backwards. Yoyue! Everyone wanted to help her up, but they were too far away and couldn't make it in time. Sima Yoyue did not feel the stiffness of the ground. She looked up and saw Tang Yin's smiling foxy eyes. Yoyue, little friend, your appearance seems to have changed from before. Tang Yin said. Let me do it. Wu Lamai ran over and said to the two. That pair of eyes that could see through everything made Sima Yoyue subconsciously guarded against him. At that time, in order to attract Supremacy's attention, she changed her appearance to look like herself. But she didn't expect so many people to recognize her. Since she had already been exposed, then there was no need for her to hide anymore. With a thought, Little Seven and Little Dream appeared in front of everyone. The moment they appeared, they supported her and squeezed Tang Yin to one side. Yoyue, are you okay? Little Seven asked. Sima Yoyue leaned on Little Seven and said, I'm okay. Little Dream go? Little Dream understood what Sima Yoyue meant. She came to Supremacy's side and sent her consciousness into his mind. After a while, she came back and nodded to Sima Yoyue. Kill him. Someone shouted from outside. That's right. Kill this asterisk 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 asterisk, so that he can't harm girls anymore. Sima Yifei brought everyone over. Yoyue, how are you? Sima Chi and Sima Yin came to Sima Yoyue and asked with concern. I'm okay, nothing serious. Are you two okay? Sima Yoyue asked. Everything was to save them. If anything happened, then her efforts would have been in vain. Almost. Sima Yin said. If it wasn't for you, I would have been defiled. Can you leave this person to me? Sima Yoyue didn't see Sima Yin's clothes being torn, but seeing her angry look, She guessed it pretty much. Anyway, Little Dream already got what she wanted. Whether this supremacy lived or died, it didn't have much to do with her. Be careful, what if he suddenly reacts? I know. Sima Yun left after speaking. Sima Chi followed. Sima Yue sat on the chair and watched as Sima Yun went up, took out a long sword and stabbed down fiercely. The supremacy who was already on his last breath was stabbed in the heart, and his vitality slowly dissipated. Because of a moment of carelessness and conceit, he inexplicably lost his life. Those girls saw that Sima Yun went to kill the supremacy and thought of the fright they suffered these days, so they went up and stabbed themselves. Those who died were filled with righteous indignation and went up to stab themselves to vent the hatred in their hearts. Sima Yue sat at the back of the crowd, waiting for those people to vent their anger and disperse. What she saw was a corpse full of holes. Finish him off completely. Sima Yue said to Little Dream. Little Dream nodded and walked over. She took out a ball of black flame and threw it onto the corpse. Soon, the corpse turned into ashes. The supremacy that everyone was afraid of for a few months was finally finished off. Those girls didn't have to be afraid and hide anymore. Sima Yue ate the pill and felt better. She left with Wu Lamai and the rest. Those people didn't even have time to thank her. When everyone regained their attention from the supremacy, they had already left everyone's field of vision. When she left, Tang Yin looked at her back and the corners of his mouth curled up into a faint smile. Why do I feel that she has something to do with it? I don't know if this is a good thing or not. It really makes me curious. Sima Yue felt the probing gaze from behind. He saw that she was leaving, but he didn't say anything to stop her. He was one of the vice pavilion masters of the Sage Pavilion, and also the youngest supremacy in the Sage Pavilion. Why did he help her just now? They found a place where there was no one. Sima Yue took out a small door and brought everyone to the little realm. Little Dream, what did you find in his memories? Sima Yue asked after entering. Chapter 1166. What did he find in his memory? Sima Xianshu and the rest looked at Xiaomeng, wanting to know what she saw. Yu, sit down first. I'll tell you. Xiaomeng helped Sima Yue to a chair and sat down, saying that white supremacy wasn't like this in the past. Instead, he obtained a cultivation method of plucking Y to nourish Yang. He's the person we guessed before who killed everyone in one move. This year, he learned the cultivation method and began to look for women. What an evil cultivation method. Yes, this person was never a good person in the past. He has been stuck at his current level for a long time, and is nearing the end of his lifespan. After obtaining this skill, he contacted me. Xiaomeng continued. If we hadn't killed him, he would have needed to collect another 9,000 women to advance. If he didn't die, wouldn't he have to kill 9,000 women? Sima Chi cried out. She was both afraid and glad to think that they had almost become one of the 9,000. I see, Sima Yue said. Alright, are you going out to look for the Sima family or are you going to stay here? We don't want to find those people. Sima Chi already knew that Sima Fei and the others had given up on saving them. Although this could be said to be reasonable, the matter was originally caused by them. The fact that they abandoned them in the end made them not want to be with them anymore. Sima Yue didn't force her. Sima Fei and the others weren't good people either. Then go and find a place to rest. I'll heal myself first, Sima Yue said. Other than the lake, you can go anywhere else. Okay, let's visit this place as well. Sima Xianshu and the other three left. Sima Yue looked at Xiaomeng and asked, what else did you see in his memories? When Xiaomeng was talking about that person's memory, no one noticed it, but Sima Yue felt that she paused. She must have something that she didn't say. Yu, I saw in his memories that Dija and the others went to a place where they disappeared. Little Dream said. Sima Yue was shocked and asked, is he sure? Little Dream nodded and said, that white supremacy once approached that place and felt a very strong spatial fluctuation there. By the way, the Sima family has also entered that place. Uncle Lu Feng and the others? Yes. Once he caught 2 women. When he was passing by, he glanced inside and happened to see the 2 of them. And it wasn't just them. Quite a few people had entered in the past few months, and their strength wasn't low either. However, no one came out. If it wasn't because he wanted to find a woman, he might have gone too. Little Dream said. Does he know what's there? Sima Yue asked. Little Dream shook her head and said, he doesn't know. Sima Yue leaned back on the chair and folded her hands together, deep in thought. Yu, are we going? Little Seven asked. With so many people going, there must be something inside. However, they all left their juniors behind, which means it must be very dangerous inside. Sima Yue said. But we don't know how long Deja and the others will stay in there. If they stay until the immortal land closes, then it'll be troublesome. Then let's go in. I can protect you, Little Seven said. At this moment, Wu Lamai walked over and said, I once heard my ancestors say that if there's a hidden space in the immortal land, then it's either a great opportunity or great danger. It won't be just a small fight. If it's a great opportunity, then it's fine. If it's a great danger, then we must be strong. Sima Yue said. No wonder Uncle Lu Feng and the others left their juniors behind. Whether it's a great opportunity or great danger, they're weak and will drag everyone down. That's right. A great opportunity will cause people to fight for it, not to mention great danger. No matter what it is, let's go in and take a look. Sima Yue heard Wu Lamai's words, and was a little tempted. If there was a great opportunity, then she would go and take a share of it. Okay, we'll go when you use body recovers, Little Seven said. Sima Yue saw her like that and smiled. She let them play by themselves and then began to meditate to recover. On the other side, Sima Yin and the others came to a small mountain. From here, they could see the living area of Blood Fiend City. I didn't expect that Yue has such a place. Sima Yin looked down at the lively living area and sighed. That's right, Sima Xian Shu said. We heard about what happened in Blood Fiend City. At that time, we were discussing how it was possible for so many people in Blood Fiend City to suddenly disappear. I didn't expect that they actually came here. Sigh. Sima Chi sighed. I didn't expect Yue to be a girl. We're both girls, but the difference is too big. It's really a blow. But younger sister is not bad too. Sima Yin smiled. We really have to thank her for this matter. If we didn't meet her, we wouldn't be able to think of a way to save you guys. Sima Yifei said. Especially in such a short period of time. The smile on Sima Yin's face faded. This matter made her eager to increase her strength. Only when she became stronger, then she wouldn't be bullied by others. Oh right, don't tell anyone about the little realm. Because we swore before that we won't tell anyone. Otherwise we'll go to hell. Sima Yifei warned. Don't worry, we won't tell anyone, Sima Chi said. Just based on the fact that she saved us, we won't do such a thing. Yes. Sima Yin nodded. Sima Yue, who was meditating and recuperating, was relieved when she heard what they said. Although she believed them, but she still wanted to hear it from them personally to be assured. But the people on the mountain didn't know that even though they were so far away, Sima Yue could still hear them. Because other people also had little realms, but they couldn't completely merge with the little realm. They were still lamenting about Sima Yue. Sai Yue is so powerful. If she wants to return to the clan, those people definitely won't object. Sima Chi said. That might not be the case. Sima Xian Shu said. Although we didn't know what happened at that time, but it caused quite a commotion. At that time many people participated in it. After that, there were many clan heads and sect heads who came to the meeting that day. Even an old ancestor was alarmed. Yes, Sima Yin agreed. If they insist on objecting, or if they have some agreement, even if Yue is very outstanding now, she might not be able to return. Chapter 1167. If he was only interested in Sima Yue before, then he was starting to look at her seriously now. Domain is something that only venerables can comprehend. You're just a deity, how could you comprehend this? Sima Yue looked at her and said, You want to know? I'm not telling you. Godfather, let go. Her unspoken meaning was to hurry up. If she wanted to trap a venerable in her domain, she would need to expend a lot more energy. Therefore, she didn't know how long this domain could last. She had already told Ulamai about this, so he understood what she meant when he heard her. He and the other egret elders attacked together. There was no need for them to bully him with numbers. Right now, killing him was the right thing to do. Sima Yue didn't need to do anything. She only needed to control her domain, but this was more important than everyone else. She couldn't use her own domain in someone else's domain, but if she used it, he would definitely notice. How could she unknowingly use her domain? No, it wasn't unknowingly. Her movements were actually very loud, but they were all covered up by the spatial seal. She didn't use the spatial seal to deal with his attack, but to use it as a cover to unleash her domain. As for himself, he didn't think that she would comprehend a domain at such a young age. Therefore, he didn't think about it in that aspect. He only thought that the fluctuation was caused by the spatial seal. Because of the two, they were really similar. Because of his carelessness, he had fallen into a passive situation. This was something he didn't expect from the start. Moreover, Ulamai's attacks were not as weak as they appeared to be. Each of his attacks was quite powerful. Coupled with the suppression of Sima Yue's domain, he was having a hard time dealing with them. When Sima Yifei and the others arrived, they happened to see them being contained within the domain. Everyone was stunned when they heard the conversation between Sima Yue and Spirit Supremacy. Did I hear it right? Sima Yifei exclaimed. Domain? Sima Yue actually comprehended a domain. How was that possible? It's indeed impossible, but it can only be her, Sima Yun said. The others were all spiritual beasts, and spiritual beasts couldn't comprehend a domain. Sima Yue and Supremacy Y were humans. If it wasn't Supremacy Y's domain, then it could only be Sima Yue. Yu is mighty. Yu is awesome. Little Roar rolled around in Sima Yun's arms. At that moment, Sima Chichi suddenly exclaimed, Sima Yue is a woman? Only then did Sima Yun react. He saw that the familiar face was indeed dressed in female clothing. They were so shocked by Sima Yue's domain that they didn't notice it at all. Now that they saw her in that state, they were so shocked that Little Roar almost fell to the ground. Little Roar regained its balance a few centimeters before it fell to the ground. It flew back into Sima Yun's arms and said, What's so strange about my Yaya being a woman? Sima Yue? Could she be the Vice Valley Master of Broken Intestines Valley, Sima Yue? That legendary rising star? Someone cried out in surprise. Yes. My little Yaya is the Vice Valley Master of Broken Intestines Valley, said Little Roar. I didn't expect her to save us. What's more, she's a woman. Everyone was silent. A person who was younger than them was actually so powerful, and he even saved them. This made their hearts fiercely shocked. You really can't compare yourself with others. This was the consensus of everyone. Let's retreat a little more. It'll be bad if we get involved, said Sima Yifei. Although they were far away, if they got involved, it would be too late for them to regret it. They retreated nearly a kilometer and stopped at the edge of their field of vision. This way, they could see what was happening over there. And if anything happened, they could escape better. The battle here quickly attracted a lot of people who came to watch. Feeling the shocking battle, those people could only watch from afar. Isn't that person the venerable level expert? There's actually someone who can compete with him. Amazing. He can actually fight with a venerable level expert. No, it's several people working together to fight with those people. Why is that little girl so close? Isn't she afraid of being involved? Yes. What a willful girl. What do you know? Look, she must have a divine artifact on her. Every time we attack her, it dissipates. What kind of divine artifact is it? It can even resist the battle between venerable level experts. No matter what level of divine artifact it is, it's certainly not something people like you and me can have. That's right. Only those major forces can have such a divine artifact. What a lucky fellow to have such a good resource. Isn't that so? The surrounding spectators discussed and didn't notice anything amiss until Tang Yin appeared with the people from the Sacred Monarch Pavilion. These people are truly amazing. The people from the Sage Pavilion sighed along with those people. If only we also have such a powerful divine artifact. At that time, we won't have to be afraid of being affected by other people's battle. What do you know? Tang Yin looked at the battle in shock. That woman is the key. Deputy Pavilion Master. Why do you say that? Domain. They are all in that person's domain. Tang Yin said something that even he didn't believe. It can't be, right? Deputy Pavilion Master, shouldn't domain be something that only honorable class experts can comprehend? I used to think so too. Tang Yin said. But it is obvious that the world is playing a huge joke on us. It wasn't that people with low strength couldn't comprehend it, but their talent was too low, causing them to be unable to comprehend it. Isn't that Sima Yue? Someone recognized her identity. That seems to be the Purple Water Dragon race's Dragon King. When I was outside the immortal domain, I heard about it from others. Those are all spiritual beasts, right? Then this domain is really comprehended by Sima Yue. This is too unexpected. Amazing. Let's not talk about her background. Just her talent alone is something that we can't even hope to catch up to. Sima Yue also knew that many people had come. She had already guessed that this battle would attract people, so she wasn't surprised. As time passed, she felt that it was getting more and more difficult to maintain the domain. This was really a physical task. If she didn't get rid of this guy soon, she was afraid that she wouldn't be able to hold on for much longer. But looking at Ulamai's appearance, it didn't seem like he could finish him off in 3 to 5 minutes. No, if this continued, everything that she had done today would be in vain. If he escaped, the possibility of catching him again would be even greater. Chapter 1168. Read 336. What are you looking at? Wu Lingyu reached out to grab a handful of her black hair and twirled it around his finger a few times. Sima Yue turned around and pulled out her hair. She pulled him up and said, "Let's go, I don't know what it is either." Wu Lingyu was pulled up by her and brought to the front of the small pagoda of the Spirit Pagoda. Sima Yue rarely came here. Usually, she would directly ask Little Spirit to take out whatever she needed. She would not specially come here. Every time she came here, she would be reminded of the time when she complained and got an afro. Little Spirit appeared and said, "I thought you had forgotten about this matter." "Haven't I been busy recently?" Sima Yue said. "Why don't you just tell me what's inside? I had to do it myself." "You'll know once you see it." Little Spirit was still keeping her in suspense. "Let's go." He brought Sima Yue and Wu Lingyu in. They walked up floor by floor and stopped in between the 3rd and 4th floor. A faint mist shrouded the staircase. Since Sima Yue had not gone up, the mist did not disperse. "Go up," Little Spirit said to her. Sima Yue nodded and walked up the stairs. The clouds and mist slowly dispersed until she reached the 4th level. And all the clouds and mist dissipated. Wu Lingyu followed him. The two of them stood in front of the door of the 4th floor, waiting to see what was inside that made Little Spirit so mysterious. Sima Yue took a deep breath and pushed the door open slowly. Unlike the previous floors, this floor was not an empty world of mountains and rivers, nor were there many mines. It was just a pitch-black room, a very large room. "It's so dark. It's so dusty." Sima Yue waved her hand in front of her. "You've become stupid after getting injured," Little Spirit said disdainfully. She had been behaving better and better recently, so much so that he had almost forgotten the time when he had often despised her. A few black lines slid down Sima Yu's face. This guy came to test her again. Didn't he just say that she could control herself? Wouldn't it be fine if he just reminded her? Why did he have to despise her like this? With a single thought, the pitch-black room immediately became bright. However, the scene that suddenly appeared made her stunned. Even Wu Lingyu was surprised. After a while, Sima Yue regained her senses. She looked at the pile of scrap metal in front of her and asked in disbelief, "These are the things in the 4th floor?" "That's right." Little Spirit replied affirmatively. Sima Yu pursed her lips. No wonder this guy wanted her to see it for herself. If it told her what was here, she probably wouldn't have believed it. Little Spirit looked at her face full of disdain and rolled his eyes, saying, You don't really think that these are just scrap metal, do you? Isn't it? Sima Yu turned her head with a look of confusion. Little Spirit couldn't help but roll his eyes again and said, "These are all treasures." Treasures? Sima Yu took out something that looked like a hand. She really couldn't tell what kind of treasure it was. "I said you're stupid, but you just have to say you're stupid," Little Spirit said. "The real thing is inside, not here. It's at the back." Only then did Sima Yu know that there should be a door at the back of this house filled with scrap metal that was bigger than a few footballs. "You should have said so earlier." She rolled her eyes at Little Spirit. Holding Wu Lingyu's hand, she stepped on the scrap metal and walked over. "These are all treasures, but you don't have the ability to do so. You can only treat them as scrap metal," Little Spirit said. "Is that so? Then why don't you try and turn this into a treasure for me to see?" Sima Yu said. "If I had the ability, would I still be a weapon spirit?" Little Spirit stared at her. Sima Yu curled her lips and ignored him. The scrap metal under her feet was uneven, so she had to walk properly. Yes, it was. They walked for a while before reaching the opposite side. After climbing over a pile of scrap metal, she finally saw a similar door. They walked down and Wu Lingyu went to open the door. However, the door didn't budge. "You're useless. Only she can open it," Little Spirit said. This was her place. Only she could come and go as she pleased. Sima Yu walked over and pushed lightly. The door opened. Behind the door, it was still pitch black. With her previous experience, Sima Yu gave a thought and turned this place into daytime. Hiss. After seeing the things here, she subconsciously sucked in a breath of air. There were machine-like people standing neatly together. They were formed by the scrap metal outside. "These are mecha people?" She covered her mouth and asked in disbelief. "That's right," Little Spirit said. "I've said it before. Those are not scrap metal. It's just that you don't know how to use them." "All right. I admit that you're right this time." Sima Yu walked over and touched the mecha people. To the people of this continent, these mecha people were like the robots in her previous world. They were of very high existence. It was said that these mecha people were more powerful than spirit beasts of the same level. "It's really surprising. I didn't expect them to be mecha people," Sima Yu said. "But how do we control them?" "How would I know?" Little Spirit said. "None of my previous masters did this." "Do you know?" Sima Yu asked. "I know a little, but I'm not very familiar with it," Wu Lingyu said. Before he went to the Devil Realm, he had only heard about it. After he went to the Devil Realm, he didn't do it. "What do you know?" "The way to control the lowest level mecha," Wu Lingyu said. "It seems that different levels of control have different methods." "Oh." Sima Yu didn't expect Wu Lingyu to know everything. "Then tell me which are the most basic. I'll look for books on this when I go out." "Then you have to differentiate the levels," Little Spirit said. "Why do I need to differentiate the levels? It's so obvious. I can tell with one look," Sima Yu said. "Oh, you've become smarter?" Little Spirit asked. Sima Yu couldn't take it anymore. She hugged him and rubbed his face. "These mecha people all have different appearances. It's impossible that the more detailed they are, the lower the level, right? I still understand this point." She had already noticed that the mecha people in each region had different appearances. Some were rough, some were detailed. It was obvious that they were divided into different levels. There were even some that looked similar to a real person, just that they didn't have any expressions. Suddenly, her hand stopped. Her face was filled with surprise. She carried Little Spirit and walked towards one of the mecha people. Chapter 1169. Wu Lingyu and Little Spirit did not know what was wrong with her. Why did she suddenly stop talking? Sima Yu walked in front of one of the mechas. She was stunned when she saw the pattern on the skin of the mecha. Little Spirit turned around and saw that there was a black lotus flower under the mecha's collarbone that was similar to the one on Sima Yu's back. Black lotuses bloomed under that fair collarbone, looking exceptionally enchanting. "Yu, this is the same as the one on your back," Little Spirit said. ignoring the existence of Wu Lingyu. Wu Lingyu narrowed his eyes. He had seen Yu's back? Although it was an artifact spirit, it was still a male. As long as it was a male, it could not be forgiven. Sima Yue looked at the Black Lotus and thought of the story between the Azure Sea Emperor and the woman called Yu. Black Lotus. Why is there a Black Lotus here? She muttered. This definitely had nothing to do with Emperor Kanglin, because this mecha was obviously earlier than them. But what was certain was that this person was definitely related to 9 Nether Mountains Emolian. Otherwise, Emolian would not have appeared here. However, without any records or legends about this, her doubts would remain as doubts forever. 9 Underworld Devil Lotus, I didn't expect to see this here. Wu Lingyu sighed. Senior brother, you know about the 9 Underworld Devil Lotus? Sima Yue asked. I've heard of some. Wu Lingyu said. I only know that the 9 Underworld Devil Lotus clan is very mysterious in the Ghost Realm, and was once the ruler of the Ghost Realm. He didn't know anything else. Moreover, this was something that happened before my era. After so many years, I don't even know what it's like now. Since this person tattooed the ink lotus on it, it means that the owner of this 7-story pagoda has at least seen the ink lotus or knows about it, Sima Yue said. What did the 9 Underworld's Devil Lotus have to do with her? Why was there such a flower behind her? Don't worry about whether Emolian is Emolian or not. There's no use thinking about this right now. Little Spirit said. That's true. Before Sima Yue left, she reached out her hand to touch the Black Lotus. However, the moment her fingers touched it, she felt that the Black Lotus on her back was a little hot. The Black Lotus on the mecha seemed to have come alive. There were still 2 petals that hadn't bloomed, but they all bloomed under Sima Yue's touch. How could this be? Little Spirit whispered. Sima Yue was also shocked by the scene, and stood rooted to the ground. Kacha! The crisp sound was exceptionally loud in this quiet environment. Sima Yue lowered her head to look, and realized that a mechanism had appeared on the lady's stomach, revealing an empty stomach. Sima Yue bent down and saw a box inside. She reached in and took the box out. This box also has a Black Lotus on it. Little Spirit said. Open it and see what's inside. Sima Yue looked around but did not find any traps. Senior brother, take a look at this. How do you open it? She passed the box to him. Wu Lingyu took it and looked at it saying, This is a Linglong box, I can't open it. Linglong box? What kind of box is that? Sima Yue asked. The Linglong box is known as the strongest box in the world. If you don't have a key, no one can open it. Wu Lingyu explained. Even if a Paragon ranker attacked with all his strength, he wouldn't be able to open it. Back then, that person had such a powerful item like the 7-story pagoda, and so many mechas. It wasn't strange for him to have this box. So powerful. Is this still a box? Sima Yue took the box and looked it over. I don't see anything special about it. This box looks very ordinary, but the material is very rare. Wu Lingyu said. Now that you have this, you've picked up a treasure. Sima Yue smiled until her eyes narrowed. She giggled and said, Why would such a strong box be hidden here? Other people can't open it anyway. Although the box can't be opened, if someone gets their hands on it, they will take it away. Wu Lingyu guessed. If that's the case, then he won't be able to achieve his goal of giving this to a specific person. Sima Yue was startled before she understood. He was saying that this box was left for someone related to the Emolian clan. Thinking of the burning behind her just now and seeing Emolian's transformation on the mecha just now, perhaps it was as he said. Let me see if there's a key inside. Little Spirit moved closer to the mecha's stomach and looked inside saying, There isn't. There definitely won't be. Wu Lingyu said, This Linglong box's mechanism is different from other boxes. There's a small mechanism inside the box. Every time before it's closed, an item will be placed inside. If you want to open it again, you will need something related to that item to open it. Then how can this be opened? Sima Yue looked at the Linglong box. Something that could be placed inside and hidden inside the mecha's body must be very precious. But right now, she could only look on helplessly. This feeling really wasn't the normal kind of stifling. I think this should be related to you. Wu Lingyu said. You were the one who opened the mecha, so this box should be related to Mo Lian. Don't tell me I have to go to the Ghost Realm's 9 Nether Mountain to pluck a black lotus and place it on top? Sima Yue was gloomy and blurted this out without thinking. Even if you want to pluck it, there might not be one. Wu Lingyu knocked her head and said, since this is related to Mo Lian, then it might be related to your bloodline. Try dripping a drop of blood on top. Oh. Sima Yue didn't have high hopes for this. After all, that person could choose from thousands of items, and it might not necessarily be related to her bloodline. She cut her finger and dripped a drop of blood on top. She watched as the drop of blood fused into the box, followed by a click. It's done. Sima Yue gently opened the box. The box that was motionless just now actually opened. What appeared in front of them was a small space. It wasn't as small as it looked from the outside. There were many books lying inside. Sima Yue took out several books and flipped through them. They were all books on weapon refinement. Wu Lingyu took them and took a look, saying in astonishment, these books? What's wrong with these books? Wu Lingyu took out 2 of the books and said, these 2 books are on par with the formation book I found for you. So impressive. Sima Yue exclaimed softly. It could be seen from Big Wei and Little Wei's attitude towards her how high the status of that formation book was in the world of formations. Then weren't those 2 books the Mount Tai and the Big Dipper of the weapon refinement books? These 2 books are handwritten notes. It looks like a weapon refinement master casually jotted them down on his own. I read 1 or 2 of them, and they are all very insightful insights. Chapter 1170. Book title. A gift specially prepared by Zhang. Sima Yue knew that Wu Lingyu's skill in smithing was very high. If even he had a penetrating opinion, how amazing must he be? However, this person's grade was definitely not low since he even had a Mount Tai level refining book. It was not surprising that he was able to come up with such insightful insights. Wu Lingyu continued reading. Towards the end, a trace of doubt flashed in his eyes, but then he understood. These are suitable for you to read. He handed the books to her. Sima Yue looked at him in confusion. These manuals range from beginner to advanced. Wu Lingyu said, it's obvious that they were prepared for a newcomer. That good? It is indeed a little surprising. Wu Lingyu said, a normal Almighty's handbook wouldn't have something as basic as this, but it seems to have everything here. That is indeed strange. Sima Yue said. If it were an ordinary person, I wouldn't find it strange. But looking at all these, Wu Lingyu glanced at her. It should have been left behind especially for people like you. If she hadn't discovered it but someone else had, she would have left it to that person. Who is that almighty being? Why did you leave these behind? Sima Yue asked curiously. Wu Lingyu shrugged. Even she didn't know about this, let alone a demon king like him. This? Wu Lingyu turned to the book at the bottom and exclaimed. What's wrong? Sima Yue moved her gaze away from the letters and asked. I think only you guys can open this book. Wu Lingyu handed the book to Sima Yue. Sima Yue placed the other books in Wu Lingyu's hands and took the book. Seeing that the pages were blank, she said, wordless heavenly book? Look ahead, Wu Lingyu said. Sima Yue flipped the book over and saw the words mecha techniques written on it. This is a book on building and controlling mecha? She asked in surprise. Why isn't there a single word on it? How will others see this? Look at the first page, Wu Lingyu said. Sima Yue flipped to the first page. It said, if you can open this box, then your bloodline should be able to decipher the secret technique in this book. Bloodline again? Could this person actually be our ancestor? Or perhaps they carry Mo Lian's bloodline? Sima Yue said. Otherwise, why would everything be related to bloodlines? It's not impossible. Wu Lingyu said. Let's give it a try. Sima Yue tore open the wound and let out another drop of blood, dripping it onto the book. The blood seeped into the craft paper, and black words slowly appeared on the book. It really works. It seems like this book really needs your bloodline, Wu Lingyu said. Sima Yue flipped through the book and stopped when she saw that the words on the last few pages were different. This was left behind by that person. Sima Yue saw the clues after skimming through the first few lines. She quickly finished reading the few pages and sighed endlessly when she reached the end. What does it say? Wu Lingyu asked. It's also about a love story related to a woman from the Black Lotus clan. Sima Yue said. It should have been earth-shattering at the time. Unfortunately, it didn't have a good ending. It seemed like the two love stories she knew about that were related to the Black Lotus clan didn't have good endings. When she thought of this, she glanced at Wu Lingyu. Wu Lingyu held her shoulder and said, That's someone else's story. We're different from them. Don't worry. Sima Yue indeed didn't worry too much. She didn't think that other people's things would happen to her. Right, speaking of which, this woman is also called Yu. At least, that's what this person called her. Wu Lingyu raised his eyebrows. Also called Yu? The Azure Sea Emperor's beloved woman was called Yu. And this woman was also called Yu. Was this really a coincidence? That's really a coincidence. Could it be that people from the Black Lotus clan all like to call themselves Yu? Who knows? Sima Yue said. But look at this. With this book, I've long been able to learn how to control these mechas. I believe that it won't be an easy task. Wu Lingyu said. It definitely won't be easy for you. Why? Why do you think he put so many weapon refinement books here? Wu Lingyu reminded her. Ah. Sima Yue slapped her forehead. Don't tell me only weapon refiners can control mechas. You'll know when you see it. Wu Lingyu said. All right. Sima Yue flipped through the book again. This time, she flipped to the title page. There were only a few sentences on it. She glanced at the words inside and was instantly speechless. Other than the lowest level mechas, the rest can only be controlled by pill refiners. What the hell is this? Wu Lingyu looked at her in amusement. She was a pill refiner, a ray master, beast tamer, seeker, and so on. The only thing she wasn't was a weapon refiner. Now that all these treasures could only be used by weapon refiners, it would be strange if she wasn't hopping mad. Don't forget, you promised Linglong that you would help her. It's been so many years, but you still haven't started learning weapon refinement. Little Spirit reminded from the side. Sima Yue rubbed her head and said, I'll learn as soon as possible. In recent years she had been really busy. She simply didn't have that much time to learn weapon refinement. But now looking at this room full of mechas, and thinking about those scrap metals that could be used outside, she'd better go learn. Don't worry, you're still smiling. There's still a long time to learn. Don't push yourself too hard. Wu Lingyu said. I know. Sima Yue pursed her lips. Why don't the lowest level mechas need to be a weapon refiner? Little Spirit asked. Because it's easy to control the lowest level mechas. If you want to control them, you just have to inject your own spiritual energy into their energy source. Sima Yue looked at the mechas and said, Although I don't know where the energy source is, I think it should be relatively simple. Let's talk about it after I've properly researched this matter. Every minute in the Immortal Land was precious. This was because the opening time was limited. Thus, weapon refinement could only be done after leaving this place. With these books, it'll be easy for you to learn weapon refinement. Wu Lingyu said. Don't you know weapon refinement? Then teach me. Sima Yue said. I'll ask you if there's anything I don't understand. Okay. Wu Lingyu nodded. But if I teach you weapon refinement, will I be your master? Sima Yue glanced at him and said lightly. What do you think? I think this suggestion is not bad. Go away. Gentlemen's assembly. Chapter 1171. In the end, the master-disciple relationship was not established, but they spent more time together. This put him in a good mood, because every minute and second he spent with her was so precious. They stayed inside for a few days before Little Spirit left, leaving behind Sima Yue and Wu Lingyu to study the mechas. Come, let's try. Sima Yue said. She pulled Wu Lingyu to the front of the mechas. The two of them each found a low-level mecha and began to control it. Wu Lingyu was done very quickly. She crossed her arms and looked at her. Why are you so fast? Sima Yue looked at her gloomily. Wu Lingyu's lips curled into a smile. I'm talented. There's nothing I can do about it. She glared at him, ignored him, and continued to fiddle with her own. Wasn't it just because he knew how to refine artifacts? What a bully. After a while, she succeeded as well. The mecha began to understand her thoughts. It's really not bad, she said with a smile. This kind of low-level one isn't very useful. It doesn't have high combat power, and it's not very agile. Wu Lingyu said, but it can be used when there's no one around. Sima Yue pursed her lips. This guy had high standards and even pointed out her weakness. Armament master. She would definitely become an armament master. Sima Yue thought about how she was going to look for Dijia, Sima Lufeng, and the others. She didn't know what was going on inside, so she controlled a few more mechas just in case. Not bad. It's a pity that there aren't many intermediate and advanced ones. Sima Yue said. There are at least tens of thousands of low-level ones, and fewer mid-level ones. The only high-level one seems to be that woman's. Wu Lingyu said. According to the usual pattern, there should be quite a number of middle-ranked and above. It was impossible for there to be so many low-level ones, and so few mid-level and high-level ones. There should be something else. Sima Yue released her divine sense, and saw a door behind the mecha. There's a door there. There should be something inside. Let's go and take a look. Wu Lingyu nodded. Holding her hand, he walked over and found that there were 3 doors. This time he didn't push the door open. He let go of her hand and let her go. Sima Yue came to the door in the middle and pushed it gently. The door did not move. No matter how hard she tried, it didn't budge. Sima Yue took 2 steps back. This house can't be opened. Wu Lingyu looked around and didn't find any traps. I'll try the other 2 doors. Sima Yue went to the door on the left and tried to push it, but it did not budge. Could it be that this wasn't something she could open? She tried a few more times, but the results were the same. She gave up and went to the door on the right. She thought the result would be the same, so she used a lot of strength this time. But the door opened with a light touch. Because she used too much force, she fell inside. Bang, bang, bang. The sound of something falling to the ground could be heard. Wu Lingyu went over and shot out a flame. He saw a certain someone lying on top of a mecha. In front of her, a pile of mechas were piled up. Sima Yue covered her face and said softly, I don't know what's here. I can't use my divine sense. Because it was too dark, because she couldn't use her divine sense, and because the impact was too strong, she didn't stop and fell onto a mecha. The mechas were placed neatly. When she fell, the mechas behind her fell like dominoes. It had been many years since she did something like this, especially in front of him. It was really too embarrassing. Wu Lingyu didn't think much of it at first, but seeing her like this he laughed softly. Why? What's there to see on the ground? Are you planning to keep lying there? Sima Yue lay on the ground and didn't get up. It had been a few hundred years since she was embarrassed like this. Wu Lingyu walked over and helped her up. What's there to be embarrassed about? Get up quickly. However, Sima Yue was still lying on the ground and staring blankly at the mechas. Wu Lingyu walked over. He thought she was embarrassed, but he didn't expect her to be staring blankly at the mechas. These mechas are prettier than me? Sima Yue sat up and said, Look, they all have this. Wu Lingyu saw that there was a black lotus in the place where she pointed. It wasn't as pure as the other lotus flowers, but it was beautiful. What's so strange about it? Wu Lingyu said. Didn't you see it on that mecha before? Look at the center. There's a small golden dot. The one outside doesn't have it, Sima Yue said. Wu Lingyu glanced at it. You're right. These mechas all have it, Sima Yue said. And when I was close to it just now, it looked like a word. She took out an object that looked like a magnifying glass and injected spiritual power into it. The object on that side was folded into an S shape in the air, magnifying the golden dot many times. It really is a word, Ling, Sima Yue said. I saw the words he said at the end of the book. Although he had deep feelings for that woman, His love was humble. Even so, he only hoped to leave a small place in her heart. Wu Lingyu saw that she was a little sad, so he pulled her up and hugged her in his arms. Then I can only say that I'm very lucky in comparison. We're both women of the Black Lotus clan, but I can receive your love. So you have to treat me better. I'm the one who made you so lucky. Understand? Okay. Then you have to listen to me when I talk. Okay. Before you recover your strength, you can only stay here. Okay. Sima Yue smiled and reached out to hug his waist. She leaned her head on his chest and listened to his heartbeat. This was the best sound she had ever heard. The mechas here seemed to be average. Sima Yue said, "Something is suppressing my divine sense, so I can't use it. Let's go look for it." The two of them looked around. They couldn't use their divine sense. And it was such a big place. This was a time-consuming project. The two of them searched for a long time, and finally found the culprit in a corner. It was a piece of metal that suppressed divine sense. This spirit weapon doesn't look big, but it can actually suppress our divine sense. Sima Yue said. It's thrown on the ground so casually. How big of a deal did the previous owner have? Perhaps it's beyond our imagination. Wu Lingyu said. We have to keep such a good treasure. Who knows, it might come in handy in the future. She put the thing into her spatial ring, and the suppression on divine sense immediately disappeared. Okay, let's go out. She had stayed here long enough. Since the two of them couldn't be opened, then she would wait until she had time to slowly study them. When we get there, if something really happens, let me out. Don't forget that I still have them by my side. Wu Lingyu exhorted. Chapter 1172. Read 336. Sima Yue understood that the them he was referring to was the one who had eaten the pavilion master of the Sage Pavilion in Cloud Sea City. Please search Pin and Book Yen. Com. To see the most complete. Update the fastest. If there's really something that I can't handle, I'll definitely call you out. Sima Yue said. If it really reached that point, then it must be a matter of life and death. When she left the spirit pagoda, a day had already passed outside. Little Seven sensed her coming out and ran over, asking, Yu, when are we going out? Sima Yue removed the enchantment barrier and let her in, saying, In these 2 days. Before we go in, let Yun and the others go out first. That's right. Speaking of Yun, she came to look for you before. She probably has something to say to you. Little Seven said. She asked me to tell her when you came out. Sima Yue thought that Sima Yun was different this time and said, I'll go look for her. She easily found out where Sima Yun was, and it just so happened that she was in a daze on the small mountain peak like last time. With a thought, she appeared behind her. A person suddenly appeared and Sima Yun was shocked. She stood up abruptly, and when she saw that it was Sima Yue, she heaved a sigh of relief. She smiled and said, It's you. Have you recovered? It's done. Sima Yue walked to her side and sat down. She then patted the spot beside her and said, Have a seat. Sima Yun sat down and said, I really have to thank you for this matter. I'm not the only one who saved you. Adoptive father, Yifei, and Shu Shu worked together to save you. Sima Yue said. And most importantly, I happened to meet Yifei and the others. Otherwise, I wouldn't have known that you were caught. Oh right, where's Chi-Chi? Chi-Chi is playing downstairs. Sima Yun said. She's all right, nothing happened. She's still the same as before. Aren't you the old you? Sima Yue asked. Sima Yun looked at her. Don't think that I can't tell that your eyes are different from before. Sima Yue said. You used to be very gentle, but now you're more resolute and aggressive. Sima Yun was stunned, then smiled bitterly. After experiencing some things, people will naturally become different. Have you been defiled? Sima Yue asked directly. No, but almost. Sima Yun said. At the last step he was lured out. So your change isn't because you lost your virginity. Sima Yue said. Then is it because you feel weak and want to become stronger? Sima Yun looked at her. She didn't expect her to understand her feelings. You don't have to be so surprised. Sima Yue said, I understand that feeling. That feeling of feeling so small. That feeling of wanting to become stronger. That's why you improved so much. Sima Yiyun was envious of her. How long had it been since they last met? She didn't improve at all, but they heard from little Seven that she did a lot of things these few years and saw her improve a lot. But she also felt sorry for Yue. Her parents were missing, so she had to do so many things to strengthen herself. Speaking of which, they who grew up in the family should feel ashamed compared to her. Sima Yue shrugged, agreeing with her. If there wasn't so much pressure, she wouldn't have walked so fast. But she felt tired along the way. If she could, she didn't want to be like this. She would rather walk slower. But seeing Sima Yiyun's complicated gaze, she said, Everyone has their own life. It might not be good for me, but it might not be bad for you. If Uncle Lucien and the rest knew, how heartbroken would they be? Sima Yiyun sighed. Although your achievements are enough to make your parents proud, based on our understanding of Uncle Lucien, they will definitely be heartbroken. Have you seen my mother? Sima Yue asked. Sima Yiyun shook her head and said, We don't know what happened at the beginning. We only know that something big happened outside. It's related to Uncle Lucien and your mother, but we haven't seen them. When Uncle Lucien came back, he was holding you in his arms. Not long after, you disappeared from the family. We thought you were killed by someone. We didn't expect him to take you to the Yilin continent. You haven't seen my mother? Sima Yue said. Looking at her, she really hadn't seen her. That matter wasn't dealt with in the family. At least your mother didn't come to the family. But later, I heard that many people came to the family, and even an old ancestor came out. Sima Yiyun said. This answer was no different from what they overheard before. It seemed that they really couldn't hear any useful news from their generation. I also hope that I can be their pride. But the premise is to find them. Sima Yue said. I will go out in a while and have some things to do. Now Inzun is dead, so you won't be in any danger when you go out. Sima Yiyun understood that she meant to let them go. Are you going to the place where Uncle Lufeng and the others went? Sima Yiyun asked. Yes. Sima Yue didn't hide it. They made you stay, so I don't dare to take you in. It's dangerous inside. Sima Yue raised her chin towards Bloodfiend City and said, I'm not alone. Sima Yiyun glanced at the city and knew she was talking about those people. They also went to the city these few days and saw those people. They were all fierce and it was hard for her to intimidate them. All right, then be careful. Sima Yiyun said. She didn't say that she would go in. Since Uncle Lufeng and the others said that they couldn't go, then they would go to other places to look for opportunities. After talking to Sima Yiyun, she quickly found the other 3 people. Sima Yue took them out of the little realm, and then went to the place in Inzun's memory with Little Dream, Little Seven and Qing Yi. It's here. Little Dream took them to a plain. There were weeds here that were almost taller than a person. They stopped in midair. Little Seven looked around and said, There's nothing special here. Are you sure? It's here. Little Seven said affirmatively. He saw a lot of people disappear here. Sima Yue called Chongming over and let him see what was different here. Chongming sensed it and then pointed to the place Little Seven said, There is a folded space here. Folded space? What is that? Is it like the space created by the Rubik's Cube? Little Seven asked curiously. Chapter 1173. Yeah, what's a folded space? I've never heard of it before. Little Dream said. A folded space isn't a sealed space, it's different from the Rubik's sky. Chongming explained. A folded space is actually connected to the outside world, but because her space is different from the outside world, it looks like a folded piece of paper. That's why it's called that. Although we can't see it, but even if we keep walking forward, we might be millions of miles away from that place. Sima Yue knew about this, but she didn't expect a folded space to be formed here. No wonder Deja and the rest's aura suddenly disappeared. It was because they were too far away. That thing was useless. Sima Lufeng and the rest should have the same reason. To be able to change a space, It means that there must be something here or something had happened before. Chongming reminded Sima Yue. No matter what it was, it meant that the danger here wasn't low. Sima Yue nodded, indicating that she understood. Then let's go in. In order to prevent the situation of everyone getting lost, she took everyone in and planned to let them out after she went in. She took out a red rope and tied it to a blade of grass. Then she kept walking forward. Every step she took was very careful because she didn't know what was inside. She also didn't know if there would suddenly be a spatial rupture. When she got close to the place that little Seven mentioned, she felt the pressure on her body suddenly tighten. Then it disappeared, indicating that she had entered the space. She looked back. The red rope was less than 100 meters away from her. It was still fluttering in the wind. She walked a few more steps. When she turned back, the red rope was already gone. This should be the reason why Wyanner saw those people disappear. She took out the scroll and looked. Sima Yun and the rest's aura couldn't be found. It meant that they were at least a few 100,000 miles away. This was because the widest range the scroll could display was hundreds of thousands of kilometers. She looked. There wasn't anyone special here, or rather, there wasn't anyone special here, so the scroll was useless here. She kept the scroll and took out the underworld weapon that Diwui gave her. She noticed that the needle on it moved slowly and stopped at a direction. You guys are really here. Sima Yue kept the underworld artifact and flew in the direction she had pointed at. However, even though it was said to be flying, it was actually not much different from walking. Because there were spatial traps everywhere, she had to be very careful. After walking for a while, she felt that she had used up too much of her divine sense, so she called Chongming out. After Chongming came out, he first transformed into a human form. After observing the situation inside, he transformed into a bird that could only seat one person. There are many spatial faults here. If you accidentally walk inside, you will never be able to come out, Chongming said. I know. Sima Yue nodded. It was precisely because there were many faults here that she had to walk so carefully. But why did Deja and the others come to such a dangerous place? Halcyon lived up to his name as a space-type spirit beast. He had an innately keen sense of space. After shrinking his body, he was actually able to fly quickly in this place. After flying for 2 days, Sima Yue took out the underworld artifact and noticed that the needle on it had become faster. This meant that she was getting closer to Deja and the others. After Chongming flew for a few days, Sima Yue let him rest for a while to recover his divine sense. Chongming transformed into a human, and she took out a few pills for him to eat. This place is huge, Chongming said. Although it's not as exaggerated as 1,000 miles in one step, it's not far off. Why would there be such a place in the immortal land? Sima Yue said. Since so many people came in, they must know something. When we meet them, we'll capture one of them and ask, Chongming said. That's the only way, Sima Yue said. If we can find Deja earlier, we can ask him too. She originally wanted to call Diwui out and ask him how far they were based on the underworld artifacts display. But she suddenly remembered that the space here was not stable. They might be able to reach the far distance in a short while. If that was the case, even if they could determine how far they were, they would not know when they would reach. They made AD halfway up a mountain as a rest for the day. Now that they wanted to find a stable space to rest, they had to find such a big place. Otherwise, it could be a spatial fault. They cleaned up the D mountain that they just made. She let Chongming go in to rest and called out Little Seven and the rest who were making a fuss in the spirit pagoda. Then, she sat at the D mountain and looked into the distance. Space was really a magical existence. It allowed people to live in it. It could be far or near. It could be sealed into a small world or expand into a boundless continent. This was the first time she deeply experienced the diversity and danger of space, as well as its variability. She closed her eyes and felt the spatial faults and folds around her. Unknowingly, she opened up her territory. Little Seven and the rest were walking at the foot of the mountain. They felt something touching them. When they reacted, they felt that the aura around them had changed. This space can change? Little Seven said. This is not a change in space. We're in her territory, Qingyi explained. You use territory? We haven't been in here before. Little 7 said. It's safe here with you, right? The space here is not connected to the folded space outside. That meant that there were no faults, no folds, and no spatial compression here. They could run as they wished. Really? I want to see what you use territory looks like. Little 7 cheered and ran. As she had not been in here before, she was curious about everything. Little Dream and the rest were the same. With Huahua, the 3 ladies looked here and there. They were very excited. Qingyi did not go with them. She looked at a certain someone who was meditating in the middle of the mountain. Once again, she was amazed by her talent. You've just learned your territory not long ago, and you're already expanding it. How did you do it? For decades, he had seen too many geniuses. Even if they were in other people's memories, he had never seen someone with such talent. He could feel that Sima Yoyue's territory was more stable than before. Its range had expanded. If she were to fight against white supremacy now, she could at least hold on for a few more minutes. If she let him know that when Sima Yuyu tested her spatial talent, what she saw was an endless universe, what kind of expression would he have? Chapter 1174. Read 336. When Sima Yue woke up, it was already the next day. She noticed the changes in her domain and smiled happily. Only when she put away her domain did the people inside realize that she was awake. Yeah, you're awake? Little 7 and the others walked over and looked at her excitedly. Okay. Sima Yue stood up. You're amazing. How long has it been and you've already comprehended it? Little 7 said. Sima Yue smiled and said, that's because the space here is different from the outside. No matter what, you're amazing for comprehending it. It was rare for Qingyi to praise her. Chongming came out and said, should we continue our journey? Yes, it's better to get the 100 Ghosts banner as soon as possible. Also, I have something to ask him. Something about his mother. Because Chongming had to shrink his body, Little 7 and the others could only reluctantly return to the spirit pagoda. Sima Yue took out her dark artifact and confirmed the direction of Deja's group. Then, she asked Chongming to continue the journey. However, the deeper they went, the more distorted the space became. Previously, Deja was in this direction, but after a few hundred miles, they would be in another direction. In this state, there was no way to track him down. Since there was no direction or distance to speak of, she simply didn't follow this rule. She let Chongming go back and walked around in the space. In this way, they were able to find them after more than a month. Planting a huahua with the intention does not blossom, but planting a willow unintentionally, the willow grows. The ancients did not deceive me. She sighed in her heart. She didn't hide her tracks because they had already discovered her before she saw them. Or rather, they had been waiting for her for a long time. What are you doing? Do you know where this is? How dare you come here? Do you want to die or do you want to die? Deja saw her and came to her, scolding her to her face. Sima Yue looked at him. What was the difference between wanting to die and not wanting to live anymore? I don't know where this is. I don't want to die, but I also want to live. I didn't want to come here either. How dare you come here if you don't know? If you don't even know where this is, then what are you doing here? Deja didn't wait for her to finish her sentence and shouted at her with a cold face. Did she know how dangerous this place was? Half of the people he had brought in had died here, and she actually dared to come here alone. This was simply enough to scare him to death. Deja's subordinates lowered their heads to look at the ground when they saw their boss flipping out. Are you worried about me? Sima Yue saw that although he was yelling at her, his eyes were filled with worry and fear. She was even more certain of her previous guess. Of course I am. Deja stopped halfway through his sentence. This little girl must have found out, which was why she dared to talk to him so fearlessly. Sima Yue looked at his cold expression and said, if you're like this, you must be worried about me. But didn't you want to kill me before? Deja was at a loss for words again. Seeing her understanding gaze, he said, you know about it? Know what? You don't know. Know that you are my cousin. Deja's face darkened. Was she teasing him? His anger rose and he was about to explode. But when he saw that similar face, he controlled himself. The people behind him felt the surrounding air pressure drop, and then it disappeared. Only then did everyone continue to breathe. Sima Yue saw that he wanted to flare up but couldn't. She felt that he wasn't that annoying after all. Deja took 2 deep breaths and asked, "When did you know that I am your cousin?" "A few months ago," Sima Yue said. "But I wasn't sure. Now I am sure." "How did you know?" "I killed Yu Du and captured Diwui. He told me," Sima Yue said. "Diwui? The person from the Diwu family who followed Yu Du?" Sima Yue nodded. "Then why are you chasing after me? To reunite?" Deja glanced at her, making her feel that he didn't really want her to be with him, because what he wanted to do was too dangerous. And the space here was too dangerous. He thought that she would back off after saying that, but she rolled her eyes instead. "You think I will be interested in reuniting with you? If that's the case, Yu Du he is my biological uncle." She was talking about someone like Yu Du? Was that useless trash the same as him? Deja felt that he was going to be angered to death by this cousin who was only a fraction of his age. But when he saw that she looked similar to his aunt, he couldn't bear to get angry at her. "Then what do you want? Why are you looking for me?" Sima Yue was satisfied with his performance. She had provoked him a few times and he had tolerated her. It seemed that Diwui was right. Even if her mother's whereabouts were unknown, he would still remember their past friendship. She didn't want to hide her purpose. She said directly, "One is to confirm if Yukuluo is my mother. Another is to ask you something, and then I want something from you." Deja also wanted to make a confirmation and said, "Release the aura of your ghost race." Sima Yue did as she was told, but she only released it for a few seconds. She was afraid that if she released it for too long, she would lose control of her ghost aura. Although it was a short time, Deja was very sure. "You are indeed my aunt's daughter. Your aura is similar to hers. Others can't be so similar." The first problem was solved. "So it is." Sima Yue finally confirmed. After so many years, she finally knew her mother's name. "What other questions do you have?" Deja said. "But if I answer your questions, you have to leave this place." Sima Yue raised her eyebrows. "Are you threatening me?" "You can think of it that way." Deja didn't deny it. Sima Yue smiled. "My master once said that my mother and I have similar personalities. Do you think she would compromise if it was her?" It was hard to say. "It's really dangerous here. You are a god ranked. Do you know how dangerous it is here?" Deja rubbed his head. "I'm asking you to leave for your own good. I know it's dangerous here. But looking at you guys, I'm afraid I'm better off here." Sima Yue said confidently. Their losses were not small. On the contrary, she didn't even have a small wound on her body. They were speechless. "All right, now you can answer my questions," Sima Yue said. No matter how hard he tried to persuade or threaten him, it was useless. Deja felt helpless. "What do you want to know?" Chapter 1175. Book title. Chapter 1. Want to steal your things. Author Sima Yue stared at Deja. Her gaze gave him a bad feeling. As expected. "Where is my mother?" she asked. "I don't know either," Deja said. "No one knows where my aunt is. If you want to know, you'll have to ask your grandfather, Ghost King." "Do you think I'll believe you?" Sima Yue knew that he would deny it, so she did not intend to believe him. "Why not?" Deja said. "If you don't believe me, you can go to the ghost realm and ask if anyone knows the whereabouts of the Dark Princess Yukuluo." Sima Yue did not say anything and just stared at him. However, he still did not intend to reveal Yukuluo's whereabouts. The two of them were in a stalemate. "Are you bullying me because I can't go to the ghost realm now?" After a long time, she asked faintly. "You're not from the ghost realm, so don't ask so much about the ghost realm," Deja said mercilessly. "Really? If I kill myself after leaving the immortal land, and my soul goes to the ghost realm, tell me, am I not from the ghost realm?" Sima Yue threatened. "You." Deja's anger flared up again. Looking at her serious face, he was really afraid that she would commit suicide when she went back so that she could run to the ghost world. Because if it was little Aunt, it was really possible. Are you going to talk or not? Yes, I know where your mother is, but is this useful? You can't go to the ghost realm from the human realm. If your soul goes there, you'll just be a little ghost with no memory and no spiritual power. Not to mention saving your mother. I'm afraid you'll be eaten as soon as you go to the ghost realm. Deja said. Since you know that I can't go, why don't you tell me where my mother is? Also, what happened back then? Sima Yue asked. I don't know what happened back then. I wasn't in Ghost City at the time. Deja said. When I got the news and rushed back, I didn't know where they had taken my aunt. If it wasn't for the life token she left me, I wouldn't even know she was still alive. You have mother's life tablet? No, the life token is in the palace. The one in my hand is a black jade that your mother gave me before she went to the human world. It's not as accurate as the life token, but it can tell that she's still alive. And what? This can guide me in her direction. Deja said, perhaps it's because I've caused too much of a commotion in the past 2 years that the Gui family has discovered me. Gui family? Yudu's mother's family? Sima Yue asked. Yes. No wonder Di Wui knew that you knew about mother's whereabouts and what you were doing, Sima Yue said. Alright, I've answered your question. Can we go back now? When did I say that I want to go back? Sima Yue said. I only said that I'm safer here than all of you. I didn't say that I want to go back. I have a third motive. Sima Yue didn't care that he was hopping mad at her and said, I want something from you. What? The 100 Ghost Banner. Sima Yue said. No. Deja rejected without thinking. If she wanted anything else, he would give it to her. But the 100 Ghost Banner was something that he needed to save his aunt. He couldn't give it to her. It's best if you give it to me. If you don't give it to me, I'll snatch it from you. Sima Yue said. I must have this thing. If not, I wouldn't have followed you for so long and come to such a place. Robber. Hooligan. No. Deja still didn't want to give it to her. Do you know what the 100 Ghost Banner is used for? Di Wui said that you want to use this to save mother, Sima Yue said. Since you know, why do you still want to snatch it? Deja thought that she wanted it because she saw the power of the 100 Ghost Banner at Bright Red Mountain Peak. But he didn't expect that she knew the reason. Do you know the Master of Divinator in the human realm, Lin? Sima Yue asked. I do, Deja said. This divinator was even more famous than the one in the ghost realm. As someone who was related to the royal family, how could he not know Lin? When we entered the immortal land, he told me that I must get the 100 Ghost Banner. He said that this thing can only be in my hands and only I can get it, Sima Yue said. Divinator was also involved in this matter? What if I insist on not giving it to you? He didn't know why Lin said that, but he didn't want to let go. I said that you will give it to me. You are my cousin. If you don't give it to me, I will just snatch it. As for whether we will die together or die together, that is not something that I can control. I am your cousin. I will always be your cousin. Deja roared. I am your relative. Yudu is my uncle. Sima Yue said disapprovingly. He was her uncle, but she still killed him. So, don't talk to her about relatives. She wasn't close to the ghost clan yet. Deja's guards realized that Sima Yue had the ability to make their master mad. Although they didn't interact much, but she could always poke at his weak points. Sima Yue looked at him and waited for his answer. Yue, I really can't do this. Deja closed his eyes. I want to use this to save your mother. I have done so much, and I am so close to the truth. You can't let me go at this time. If you really want it, I will give it to you after I save your mother. Sima Yue didn't know what happened between him and her mother that made him so stubborn. But she was happy that someone was still standing up for her mother when she was in such a situation. Are you sure that you can save my mother? She lowered her voice and didn't sound so tough. But this didn't mean that she had given up. If I keep all the ghosts here, I have at least a 50% chance. Deja said. 50%. You mean that you have less than a 50% chance now? Sima Yue said. Deja nodded. Even if there is only a 1 in 10,000 chance, I will save my aunt. If you don't even have a 50% chance, are you trying to cut off my mother's escape route? If it weren't for the fact that they weren't familiar with each other, Sima Yue really wanted to pry open his head and see what he was thinking. Cut off her escape route? Deja was stunned by her scolding and said, "How can I cut off my aunt's escape route?" "Why not?" Sima Yue stared at him. "If you save her now, you have less than a 50% chance. Maybe after some time, you will have an 80% chance. Mother could have been saved by you, but because of your recklessness now you failed. If you die, or if you lose the power in your hands, who can Mother rely on?" Chapter 1176. No wonder you guys didn't search for treasures like the others. Sima Yue said. The folded space here was formed because of the ancient battlefield? We just. Read 336. Chapter content begins. Deja's body trembled. He had never thought that Sima Yue would say something like that. After hearing the news about his aunt, he poured all his thoughts and resources into preparing to save her. He thought that even if he failed and died, he would give it his all. But he didn't think like her. You've never thought about it, right? Sima Yue knew when she saw his expression. A person like him wouldn't take a step back to think about it. But you don't know where your mother is being held. She will suffer a lot there. If we can save her earlier, you have to be able to save him first. Sima Yue said. From the information that Di Wui gave me, although you have power and status in the world of spirits and souls, how are you compared to the royal family? They want to lock my mother up. Can you fight against them? Even if we can't compete, we still have to save her. Deja said excitedly. Do you know that Auntie is locked up in the infernal hell? That's not a place for humans. Sima Yue was dumbfounded. Infernal hell? Her mother was locked in the infernal hell. She felt a sharp pain in her heart, and tears instantly flowed out. The Avicii hell was a place where ghosts and beasts couldn't survive. But even so, you can't do something you're not confident in. She wiped her tears, but just as she wiped them away, they fell again. Even so, she did not lose her mind. Deja saw her crying and trying to stop himself. His heart ached for her. He took a step forward and pulled her into his arms. We will save Auntie. Those people stared at Deja with their eyes wide open. Was this still the master who didn't allow anyone to get close to him? It couldn't have been a different person, right? If someone approached him, especially a woman, and dared to touch his body, they would probably be beheaded before they could even touch him. But now someone wanted to steal his treasure. Not only did he not kill her, he even hugged and coaxed her after seeing her cry. This was simply unprecedented and impossible. However, it just happened. Sima Yue leaned into his embrace. When she thought of her mother in the abyss of hell, her heart ached. What kind of place was the Avicii hell? Those who violated the oath would be punished by the heavenly Tao there, which was enough to show what that place was like. Her father's whereabouts were still unknown. Now that she finally found out about her mother's whereabouts, she was even more worried. However, Deja's stiff movements made her understand that this guy was actually not good at comforting others. It was already good enough that he could do this. After a while, she calmed down and left his embrace saying, I want the 100-ghost banner. This little girl was still unwilling to give up. If you don't give it to me, I'll snatch it. Sima Yue continued. Then Auntie. I'll go and save her. Give me some time, I'll grow up. Sima Yue said. Since you're not confident, then you should go back and develop your power. When I'm there, I'll have a strong backup. If you don't agree, I won't treat you as an older brother, and we'll make a move. After hesitating for a while, he finally agreed. She was his auntie's daughter, he could not bear to make a move on her. If the end result was destined to be like this, why should he be conflicted? He took out the 100-ghost banner and said, I'll only give you 100 years. If you're not qualified by then, I'll come and take it back. After saying that, he erased his divine sense from the 100-ghost banner. All right. Sima Yue took the 100-ghost banner and started to use it. I'll teach you how to use this first. Deja said, this 100-ghost banner is filled with ghosts, and most of them are evil spirits, so it's a little troublesome to control. However, your mental strength seems to be not bad, so there shouldn't be a problem. She had the aura of the ghost clan in her body, so it was not difficult to control this. Moreover, she was a very smart student. When Deja said that, she understood. After imbuing it with her divine sense, she kept it. I suddenly thought of a problem. She said. What? Since Mother is in the abyss of hell, then if I go and find someone to make a vow, and then purposely break the vow, I'll be sent to the abyss of hell by the rules of the vow. Then can I go and find Mother? Sima Yue said. The people who are sent to that place by the rules will never be able to come out. Even if you go and save Auntie, you can only stay there for the rest of your life. What will you do then? Deja said. All right. It seemed that this method would not work, so they could only go through the normal procedure. Master, then do we continue? Ghost Master asked from behind. Their purpose of coming here was to collect souls from the ancient battlefield. Now that the 100 Ghost banner had been given to Sima Yue, should they still continue? Sima Yue then looked at the people behind Deja. These people seemed to be well trained. Although they felt sorry for their master, they did not say anything to stop them. Go, Deja said. Although the 100 Ghost banner was not in his hands, it was still there, and the ancient souls were still there. You said that it was an ancient battlefield. What is this? Sima Yue asked. Deja looked at Sima Yue's confused look, and believed what she said before. She really did not know what this place was before she ran in. This is an ancient battlefield. Deja said, I don't know when it was built, but later on, someone entered the immortal land and found this place, leaving behind some clues. This is the main reason why we came to the immortal land this time. No wonder you did not search for treasures like the others. Sima Yue said, the folded space here was formed because of the ancient battlefield? We are not sure about this. We only know that there are definitely many ancient souls on the ancient battlefield. If we can collect them into the 100 Ghost banner, it will greatly increase the power of the banner. Deja said. So you are here for those ancient souls? Sima Yue said. But since it is an ancient battlefield, those ancient souls should be from a very long time ago. Are they still there? If they are, will they be very strong? Ghost kings and ghost generals should not be a problem. I don't know, the records did not mention this. Deja said. So the situation in front is very dangerous. Why don't you give me the 100 Ghost banner, and wait for us at the exit? I will give it to you when we get out. I know the situation and danger there, so you don't have to tell me. Sima Yue said. According to your current losses, I am afraid that when you get there will only be 3 to 5 of you left. With me leading you, you can at least reduce the losses by half. The ghost clansmen were all stunned. What a straightforward and arrogant woman. End of chapter content. If you like this book, please click here. Remember to buy this book. _D. An underscore equals LL. L top equals NT. Hide. The works collected on this site, community topics, and comments in the library are all personal and do not represent the site's position. All literary works are obtained from third-party websites. If there is any infringement, please see the disclaimer at the bottom of the homepage. Chapter 1177. Yue glanced at the Ghost Master discreetly. Ever since she arrived, he had rarely spoken. She wondered if he was usually like this. Yes, Chongming is a space-type spirit beast. Because of the contract, my understanding of space has increased a lot. Perhaps that's why I'm able to sense space better. Read 336. Chapter content begins. Deja looked her up and down. This little girl's personality was very similar to his aunt's in the past. If you must go, then follow me. Don't wander off. He was very fond of this fake aunt. That confident look, that gaze, it really seemed like he couldn't bear to reject any of her requests. You'll know later how much of a loss it is for you to not bring me along. Sima Yue said. I'll wait and see. Although Deja liked how confident she was, he didn't take her words to heart. As for those from the Ghost clan, none of them believed her words. They only hoped that she would not drag everyone down. However, They soon discovered that she wasn't exaggerating at all. With her around, they really avoided many spatial rifts and lost a lot of people. Are you a formation master? Deja asked during the break. Okay. Sima Yue nodded. You really are an array master. No wonder you were able to catch up to us unscathed. Why didn't you say anything before? The guard behind Deja asked. In the past 2 days, they found that the child of the Dark Princess had no concept of class, just like her. Even when they spoke to her, she would reply in an amiable manner. Sima Yue shrugged. None of you asked me. What a low-key child. Deja also neglected this matter, and realized that he knew very little about her. He asked, what else do you know other than arrays? I don't know how to refine weapons, but I plan to learn it when I'm out. Sima Yue said. You don't know how to refine weapons? Did that mean that he knew everything else? You're an alchemist? Yes. You're a beast tamer? I know how to tame beasts too. You are a seeker spirit master? I know a little. Then what can't you do? I just said that I don't know how to refine weapons. Sima Yue glanced at that person, thinking that this person had a bad memory. They could really understand their master's feelings. You've already persevered for 3 days. Let's rest for a few days before continuing. Deja said. No need. Many people came in before us. If there are any treasures, we can go and get a share. Sima Yue licked her lips and her eyes lit up. Deja looked at her hooligan temperament at the moment, and thought that his aunt was not like this. Was it because of that man's personality? If that was really the case, then her aunt's taste was too bad to fall in love with such a man. However, what they didn't know was that this hooligan temperament had nothing to do with his parents. He was born with it. But you look very tired now. We can't continue. Deja said. It's okay. I still have friends. Sima Yue said. Chongming, you lead the way. Chongming came out, nodded and led everyone forward. He's your contracted beast? Deja asked. Sima Yue nodded. He's so sensitive to space. He should be a space-type spirit beast, Chongming bird. The Ghost Master said. Sima Yue looked at the Ghost Master discreetly. Ever since she came, he rarely spoke. She didn't know if he was usually like this. Yes. Chongming is a space-type spirit beast. Because of the contract, my understanding of space has increased a lot. Maybe it's because of this that I'm more sensitive to space. There are very few space-type spirit beasts now. The Ghost Master said meaningfully. Sima Yue didn't know why, but she felt that his words were a little strange. However, she didn't know why he said that. After that, Sima Yue and Chongming took turns to lead the way. There were only a few deaths in the end. However, because they couldn't fly, they could only walk. Therefore, their progress was very slow. After walking for a long time, they still hadn't reached the ancient battlefield. The space here wasn't stable. To a large extent, it affected their progress. However, because of the instability, they could travel thousands of miles with each step. Although they walked slowly, they still covered a long distance. After a few months, they finally saw some people. However, when they saw them, those people chose to avoid them. In a place like the ancient battlefield that was filled with death, it was very unwise to fight against the Ghost Clan. There are people fighting in front. Should we go and take a look? Chongming asked. Do we know each other? Sima Yue asked. She understood Chongming. If it wasn't someone she knew, he wouldn't have told her. There's someone whose aura is a little like Sima Lufeng. Chongming said. Uncle Lufeng? Then is everyone from the Sima family here? Sima Yue asked. If so, then there was no need for her to go over. She didn't want to interact with them now. These people weren't as gullible as Sima Gaoqi. I don't know. There's only one that I'm familiar with. Chongming said. Yun said that Uncle Lu Yun and the rest came in together. If Uncle Lu Yun and the rest aren't here, then it should only be Uncle Lu Feng. Let's go and take a look. Sima Yue turned around and looked at Deja, saying, You guys? Of course we'll go with you. Deja said. What if there's danger? There were more folds and faults in the space here. If she stayed here, she might be killed by the space. Why not let them go together? Then let's go over and take a look. Sima Yue said. There wasn't anyone in front, but Chongming brought them around a few corners and saw a group of people fighting. As expected, she only knew Sima Lu Feng. She didn't know the rest. Seeing Sima Lu Feng's cold attitude towards both parties, there shouldn't be anyone from the Sima family. But why was he here alone? And it was obvious that he was being controlled by someone. She didn't know the two parties fighting. Since Sima Lu Feng didn't do anything, then she didn't make a move. We found that divine tool first. You guys just came up and snatched it. Where's your morality? Morality? What morality are you talking about here? What's the use of finding it? It's the one who gets it in the end. Let's see who can snatch it first. Boom. Those people were getting closer and closer to where Sima Lu Feng was. The energy from the battle was about to reach him. If no one brought him away, then he would be in danger. And those people were busy fighting, so no one noticed this place at all. Seal 1. Sima Lu Feng felt the ripples in the space. The energy that was about to reach him went around him. Those who were able to come here were stronger. Once she made a move, both parties felt it. They stopped at the same time and stood at two sides, looking towards them. Sorry, I'm just here to find someone. You guys can continue. Sima Yue said with a smile. Chapter content end. This book is quickly updated. If you like this book, please click here. Remember to buy this book. _D. An underscore equals LL. L top equals NT. Hide. This site's collected works, community topics, book library comments are all personal actions. It doesn't represent this site's position. All literary works are obtained from third-party websites. If there is any infringement, please see the disclaimer at the bottom of the homepage. Chapter 1178. Sima Yue thought that her smile was quite friendly, but the other party did not buy it at all. Seeing the group of ghosts behind her, the other party looked at them warily. A human is actually mingling with the ghost clan. You are the scum of the human race. That's right. Anyone who colludes with the foreign races should be punished. You'd better plead guilty obediently and commit suicide. That way, you'll be able to get a quick death. Yes. Yes. Sima Yue looked at them. The people who were fighting fiercely just a moment ago were now pointing their spears at her. They looked like they had a common enemy. However, only idiots would say such things, right? Just because she was with someone from the Ghost Clan, she had to commit suicide to atone for her sins? Was there something wrong with their brain circuits, or were they mentally unsound? Do you think everyone else is an idiot? However, in the eyes of these people, this request couldn't be more reasonable. As a human, colluding with a foreign race was unacceptable in the entire continent. Those who colluded with the alien race deserved to die. Moreover, they had always been high and mighty, and had long since disregarded the lives of others. In their minds, you colluded with the alien race, so letting you commit suicide is already very merciful. Sima Yue laughed softly. Although this little girl's strength is low, she still cherishes her little life. Therefore, I have no intention of killing myself. Humph, you colluded with the alien race. What right do you have to continue living in this world? What is face? Can it be eaten? Sima Yue asked. Would a person who doesn't even care about his life care about his face? Shameless Junior. How can you have such thoughts? If you don't want to kill yourself, then don't blame us for taking action. As they spoke, those people even wanted to make a move, intending to sentence her on the spot. As soon as these people attacked, she knew their strength. They were all Monarch Realm experts, and there were even people who were half a step into the Monarch Realm. Their strength was not low. I think you guys are thinking too much. My life, other than myself, no one can take it away, Sima Yue said. Even if you claim to be fighting against the mutated tribe, you can't. Arrogant brat. Hand over your life, an old man said as he charged towards Sima Yue. When Sima Lu Yun saw Sima Yue, he quietly dispersed the spirit energy that he had gathered. Although he was surprised that she was here, at least she saved him. Even though he would be fine even if she didn't save him. When he was captured by these people, he didn't reveal his identity and strength. It wasn't that he couldn't escape, but it would be safer with someone here. Therefore he stayed there quietly. But now he couldn't stay quiet. How dare he lay his hands on her? Wasn't he courting death? Not only him, Deja, who was behind him, also moved at the same time and attacked the old man. With the two of them working together, the old man died in an instant. She had already guessed that Deja would make a move. She thought that the controlled Sima Lufeng would make a move, but she didn't expect this. Uncle Lufeng, so you're not being controlled? Sima Yue said. Sima Lufeng flew over and landed beside her saying, "Why are you here?" "I knew that you all came in, so I followed you in." Sima Yue said, "You're not being controlled at all. You were still like that just now." "It's not that I didn't make a move, but you made a move earlier than me," Sima Lufeng said. "How could I let myself fall into that kind of danger?" "Then you're worried for nothing," Sima Yue said. "Knowing that you're so concerned about my safety, I'm happier than anything else. How could I be worried for nothing?" Sima Lufeng said. Sima Yue couldn't be bothered with his thoughts. "Sima Lufeng, you're not being controlled at all. So you've been acting all along." Sima Lufeng stood in front of Sima Yue and faced those people saying, "When did I say that I'm being controlled? Just based on your poison. How could you poison me? You're too naive. Then why did you pretend to be controlled? Or else why would you bring me along the entire way and not let me do anything?" Sima Lufeng said. If it wasn't because they made a move on Yue, he probably wouldn't have exposed himself. "Good Sima Lufeng, I didn't expect you to be so good at acting. You flatter me," Sima Lufeng said. Seeing those people's ugly expressions, he said, "Don't be like this. You're holding me hostage, wanting me to bring you to find treasures. I'm so cooperative. Why do you look like you're hurt?" "You did it on purpose," an old man shouted. "You brought us here on purpose, so that we'll fight over the divine weapon? Did you forget to bring your brain when you went out?" Sima Luyan said. "I didn't know that there was a divine weapon here, and didn't know that your enemies were here. Why would I bring you here? If you're stupid, don't talk. That will expose the fact that you have no intelligence." Pfft. Sima Yue couldn't help but laugh at the back. This Uncle Lu Yun's face was solemn and serious, but his character was very different from Uncle Lufeng, who was the same age as him. That person was stunned by Sima Lu Yun's sarcasm. He was furious. When had he, who was highly respected, been mocked like this before? "Why are you glaring at me for?" Sima Lufeng said. "Am I wrong? Friend, let's not fight anymore today. Let's take care of these other clans first." The person who was scolded by Sima Lufeng said to the people opposite. The other party was silent for a while before saying, "Okay." This was the boundary between allies and enemies. There was no boundary. 1 second it was an enemy, the next second it could be an ally. Deja didn't feel anything towards these people. He didn't have the patience to watch them talk. With a wave of his hand, the ghost clansmen behind him started to attack. Humans were troublesome. When they saw something they didn't like, they still chattered for so long. Couldn't they just attack directly? Sima Yue watched as those people started to attack. She realized that they were all very strong. At least they were stronger than the guards in Yu Capital. To be able to be stronger than the royal guards meant that his power was not to be underestimated. Sima Lufeng saw that those people started to attack, but he didn't have the intention to help. He pulled Sima Yue's hand and said, "You look really good in female clothes. It's a pity that you don't look like your father." Deja saw his little sister being held by a stranger. Although he said that it was some ghost uncle, he couldn't do it. He took a step forward and pulled Sima Yue back, letting her leave his evil clutches. "Who are you?" Sima Lufeng looked at Deja with a black face. He actually dared to pull his little niece away. "What the hell? And who are you?" Deja stared back coldly. He didn't have a good impression of this ghost uncle. Chapter 1179. Read 336. Humans and ghosts, darkness and light, were naturally at odds with each other. Sima Yue noticed the tension between the two of them and said, "Let me introduce you. Uncle Lufeng, this is my cousin Deja. Cousin, this is my uncle Sima Lu Yin. Maternal family. Sima Lu Feng glanced at him and said. Deja glanced back, but didn't mention her husband's family. Because in his opinion, the other party didn't have the qualifications to be his aunt's in-laws. Sima Yue stood between the two of them, blocking their line of sight. Uncle Lu Feng, why are you here alone? Where are the rest of you? Sima Lu Yin sighed and said. I don't know where they are either. I was swept here by the spatial turbulence. I didn't expect to bump into them. They wanted to catch me, so I let them catch me. Do you look like someone who can be caught so easily? Sima Yue glared at him. Of course not. But if I'm here alone, I'll have to do everything myself. But if I follow them, all I need to do is point the way, and then I don't need to do anything. How to avoid the spatial traps and how many people die has nothing to do with me. To put it bluntly, you're just lazy. Sima Yue said. There are some things that you should keep to yourself. Don't say them out loud. Otherwise it would be meaningless. Sima Lu Yin said. Why do they want to capture you? Sima Yue was curious. Normally, when encountering such a situation, they would kill the other party. Otherwise they wouldn't have captured him. You don't know? Sima Lu Feng looked at her strangely. Know what? Sima Yue asked. Why were they all saying the same thing? She really didn't know anything. Looks like you really don't know. Sima Lu Feng saw her reaction and said. Sima Yue was speechless. It was all the same. Was she really that ignorant and inexperienced? But the truth was she really was like that. If I don't know, then why are you still keeping me in suspense? Then do you know where this place is? Sima Lu Feng asked. If she didn't even know where she was, then he wouldn't bother to explain it to her. Of course I know. But what does this have to do with them capturing you? You know that this is an ancient battlefield. Then, do you know that the Sima family had an ancestor who entered this place and left successfully? Sima Lu Feng said. He saw Sima Yue twitch her mouth and said. Oh, you don't know. But everyone knew. I don't know how this news got out. Sima Yue was speechless. She did not know much about the Sima family. How would she know about their ancestors? The more people spread the news, the more mysterious it became. It was as if everyone in our family knew about this. They also said that our clan's divine weapons were taken from the ancient battlefield. Then they want us to lead the way for them. Well, these people want me to lead the way for them. So do you know or not? Sima Yue asked. If he knew, then she wouldn't need to take the long route, and could go there directly. How would we know? Sima Lu Feng said. If we knew, why would I not be able to return after being sent out? What do you mean by not being able to return after being sent out? Sima Yue asked. We've already reached the ancient battlefield. But the space there is not only unstable, there are many traps. There's also the spatial flow. I was sent here by the spatial flow, Sima Lu Feng said. Then you're lucky, Sima Yue said. Spatial flow is such a rare situation. What's a spatial flow? Deja asked. It's like a tsunami or a tornado. It's just that it's formed because of the movement of space. Sima Yue explained. This thing is better than a spatial fault. It won't make you fall into the void and die. But the bad thing is, it can make you go anywhere. Like Uncle Lu Feng, it's already considered short to not be sent to the entrance. And there's no pattern to the movement of spatial flow. If you're not familiar with the surroundings, you really won't know where you were sent to. You also won't know where you were before. So you also don't know where the ancient battlefield is. Sima Yue sighed. Who says I don't know? Sima Lu Feng said. You have to know I have many ways too. It's just that I'm too lazy to do it. Then what ways do you have? Sima Yue asked. Our Sima family isn't a small power. We have our own ways to deal with these. Sima Lu Feng said. I originally said that those old guys are here, so I'm not in a hurry to go back. If you want to go, then I can bring you there. This is the real reason why you pretended to be controlled by them. Sima Yue said. You just don't want to go back. That's why you've been staying here. Those old guys, let's not talk about how I don't like them. Even Lu Yin needs a lot of self-control to stay calm when he sees them. I can't compare to him, so I can only wait here. Sima Lu Feng said. Why? Because they abandoned your father. Sima Lufeng said. They abandoned your father for the sake of the family's benefits. That's indeed unbearable, Sima Yue said. And you don't have Uncle Lu Yun's temperament. I'm your elder. You can't talk like that, Sima Lufeng said. I'm just speaking the truth, Sima Yue shrugged. If you don't want to go back, then you can tell me how to go. You don't have to go. Of course not, Sima Lufeng said. You and Lu Yun don't have any connection. Even if you know the way, you won't be able to find them. So you have to go? Of course. Then you lead the way, Sima Yue said without holding back. Invite me. Sima Lufeng wanted to tease her. Sima Yue glanced at him indifferently and smiled faintly. If I'm injured, I'll definitely tell Uncle Lu Yun everything when I see him. You win. Sima Lufeng looked at the smile on her face and complained. Your father is considered to be open and above board. How did he give birth to such a cunning daughter? Genetic mutation. Do you understand? Genetic mutation? What's that? So you don't understand. Genetic mutation. You wouldn't understand even if I told you. So I don't think I should tell you, Sima Yue said with a smile. What a vengeful fellow. Deja looked at Sima Lufeng and felt better. Looks like he wasn't the only one who couldn't handle her. The people on their side were the same. But he was curious. What was genetic mutation? Chapter 1180. Read 336. The strength of the Ghost Clan's people was not bad. While they were talking, they finished off those people. Not only did they hide far away, they even dared to say that they wanted to kill them. Fighting with Ghost Clansmen in the ancient battlefield was simply courting death. Master, everything has been cleaned up. The guard came back to report. Yes, Deja nodded slightly and looked at Sima Yue. Should we continue our journey? All right. Deja let the guards rest for a while, and then continued on their way. But this time, not only was Chongming leading the way, there was also Sima Lufeng leading the way. After walking for more than half a month, they finally walked out of the place where the fault lines were concentrated, and arrived at a place where the space was relatively stable. If the previous area was said to be uninhabited, with only plants and no living animals, then this area could only be described as barren. The land was charred and cracked. After millions of years, not a single living thing had grown here. They flew in the air, and everything in front of them was the same. The black earth looked like a boundless ocean, swallowing the hope of life. Sima Yue returned to the ground. Although the space here was much more stable than before, she could not say for sure if a spatial flow would suddenly appear and take her away. It wasn't easy for him to get here. When the time came, he wouldn't even have a place to cry. How is it? Deja and the others did not dare to go up casually. They did not have spatial perception like her, so they could only wait on the ground. It's the same in front. We should have reached the ancient battlefield, Sima Yue said. What kind of battle would cause such an area to appear? No one knows, and no ancient book has ever mentioned it. If it wasn't for someone who accidentally entered this place and spread the news, nobody would know about this, Sima Lufeng said. As the family that brought the news out, the Sima family had been under a lot of pressure for tens of thousands of years. Fortunately, there were no signs of the immortal land opening during those years, so the Sima family could live through these years peacefully. Otherwise, they might have already disappeared in the long river of history. Their generation didn't know how the news was leaked out, but in their opinion, it didn't bring them much benefits. Especially when everyone knew that this wonderland was the one that opened tens of thousands of years ago. The Sima family didn't have any peace. The ancestor who released the news only wanted to spread the news and let everyone know about it to divert the attention of the entire continent. However, he didn't expect that as time passed, the news would spread more and more. Although it diverted some attention, it also put the family in an even more awkward position. Others asked the Sima family to provide more information, but they didn't know much. Even the outside world knew more than they did. Although the Sima family didn't encounter anything when they came in, They knew that many people had been following them in order to find this ancient battlefield. Actually, he wasn't very interested in this place. After so many years, how many treasures could there be? Could it be that the things of the ancients were really better than the things of today? After so many years, he didn't know if those things could still be used. Why did they have to come to such a dangerous place? However, his idea was useless. Sima Lu Yun's idea didn't stop the family members either. That group of stubborn old people insisted on coming, so they couldn't do anything about it. Moreover, because of Sima Lu Xian's matter, they couldn't be too high profile in the family. So even if they had ideas, they didn't say it out loud. They could only follow them in. You guys don't know either? Sima Yue asked Deja. Deja shook his head. There really wasn't any record of this. For a battle to form such a large folded space, it means that the battle was absolutely devastating. It's impossible that there isn't any record of it at all. Sima Yue said. Could it be that this ancient battlefield wasn't formed in the ancient primordial lands, but formed in other places? Formed in other places? You mean outer realms? Sima Lu Feng asked. I think this possibility is higher, Sima Yue said. How do you know that there are outer realms? Sima Lu Feng asked. People in the inner regions knew more about outer realms. For someone of Sima Yue's age and life experience, she shouldn't know about it. Qingyi told me, Sima Yue said. Qingyi? Tree of Life. I comprehended the realm under him. Sima Yue said. A few days ago, when she was chatting with Sima Lu Feng, she mentioned that Sima Yiyun and the rest were captured. He casually asked about the realm. She didn't hide it from him. Or rather, she had the intention to tell him about it. She wanted him to know about her improvement. Perhaps only then would they tell him about her father. However, other than letting him sigh at her talent and be happy, it didn't have any use. During this period of time, every time she asked about her father, he would either directly say that it was better that she didn't know about it, or change the topic. In short, he was excited about her talent while refusing to give her any useful information. She was so angry that her teeth itched. But she couldn't pry open his head to take a look. She could only stare at him from the side. As for this Sima Lu Feng, when he was young, he was definitely a thick-skinned person. Now that he was older, he had cultivated his skin these few years, so his skin was even thicker now. No matter how she glared at him, he would just ignore her. But Sima Yue wasn't the kind of person who would give up.